Hey everybody, welcome back to Immaculate. This is session 3 for the Alien RPG. Unfortunately, session 2 the audio got lost, so I'll give a quick recap with my players here in a few minutes because it has been 2 weeks. But I wanted to thank everybody for watching. If you're watching this on Twitch or YouTube after the fact, please like, subscribe, turn your notification bells on for more stuff. We look forward to continuing these plays of my alien content, all of which can be found on my website at martinparis.com. You can certainly find that in the comments section below the video. Thanks a lot, guys, and enjoy.
Yeah, fairly interesting.
Okay.
But, it's still painted minis, so it's cool.
Sure. All right, well, that's going to be cool.
Painted miniatures. I'm a big fan of BattleTech. Been playing it since I was like 10.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, my son and I have a zillion miniatures. I should say my oldest son. And every time I look at them, I go, we really should take some time to paint those. And then I get about an hour and a half into painting them, and I'm like, oh my god, this is a lot of work. And that's what we're all here for.
That's the important part. Yeah.
All right, so let's do this. Guys, I was telling Jim earlier, I lost, when I recorded our last session, I lost all the audio, all my incoming audio. So the video was 3 hours of me talking to myself. So obviously I didn't post that to YouTube. I didn't see the point. So I'll just do a brief recap and hopefully touch all the important points for anyone who wanted to see it on YouTube and couldn't, because there's not much there to see. That was the same. That was the same session too that my video wasn't working, if I remember.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a serious technological flop day. So last session, if I can wrap my brain around everything that happened, the marshals went out to Jose's hole to interview Jenny Wright. Well, just a poke around, right? And you ran into a bartender / owner that really didn't seem all broken up about the death of his employee. And you spoke to one of the waitresses there, a young lady by the name of Jenny Wright, who went to school with your victim, and so now we're kind of rekindling their friendship. She talked a little bit about the dead girl's ex-boyfriend who showed up one day and made a ruckus but hadn't seen him since. Talked about how she was trying to get her life back together. She was trying to go through, I think, a rebirth, is what she called it, going to a church, which this is the second or third time you've heard about some church or some religious affiliation, which combined with the obvious imagery of the crime was bringing up some concerns, right? Meanwhile, our reporter, journalist, Jake Showalter, was out poking around. He was looking to find where some young people hang out. He actually ran across a couple that went scurrying away into a vent system in an alley. He follows them. They give him a bit of a merry chase. In the end, he catches up to them, and he finds these 3 different murals, which all kind of match the one at the original crime scene. So he took pictures of all that, took them, got something to eat, started to go about his business. You guys ran Melissa back to her office, the medical examiner, to her office, so that she could, I believe, get the nylon rope over to the marshal's office so they could check that out. And then you guys ran back to Jose's hole because you wanted to see where Jenny and the dead girl were being picked up by whomever to take them to church, right? Meanwhile, Melissa got attacked in her office by a guy who worked in the hospital. And that's where everyone kind of met up at that point, because Jake got a lead that had happened, so he got there before I think the marshals had gotten there, talked a little bit, and left. And Jake went right in and showed one of the deputies the pictures of the murals. The deputy called the marshal back, and you guys are all together there. Once you finally got all together, you then proceeded to split up. And if I remember correctly, Justin, the ME, and maybe it was it Vasquez, went to the apartment of the guy who attacked Melissa, and I think that's right. And then Jake and I don't know. I'm a little discombobulated at this point. But regardless, you went to his apartment. You didn't find a whole lot there, except you found another mural inside his shower. And then you guys kind of all got back to the Marshall station where that's where everyone's congregated now. It's in the evening. The sun has gone down. It's nighttime. It's been a long day at this point. Probably 12 hours almost of chasing all this around. You had one of the deputies go through all the PDT chips and all the missing persons reports, and he kind of got to the point where he said, I can't even look at this anymore, I'm going cross-eyed, can you guys take a look? And what you discovered was a large number of missing persons unaccounted for. A lot of those missing persons also match up to PDT chips that you guys have there. You also found what you felt like was a disproportionate number of people that died to, say, animal attacks and that type of thing. Not that dangerous fauna doesn't exist on this planet, but it just seemed a little disproportionate to you. The biggest issue was that all of the medical examiner reports were signed off on by Charles Marlowe, who is the previous medical examiner who recently died just a couple weeks ago from a heart attack, and Melissa, Cole's character, took over. The big thing was that struck you was that all of them were signed off by him. Many of these had no pictures of any kind whatsoever. Most of the bodies are gone, cremated, because they're not going to waste land space burying somebody. And also they were countersigned by the previous marshal, Wilson Daggett, who does live in the colony. He's some distance out. He's retired. And that's kind of where you guys left off. I think the last decision was that I think Johnny Vasquez, I think you had the idea of taking Jake out to the previous marshal's new residence, kind of as an interview type thing. And meanwhile, Justin, Candace, and I guess Melissa in NPC form were probably going to head out and see if they could somehow locate this church that you guys have no real hard leads on. You just know it's out there somewhere. So did I miss anything? Did I leave anything out?
I think that was a pretty good recap.
Yeah, that sounds about right to me.
Okay, good. I'm glad my memory is still holding up at my ripe old age. All right, so this is the point in the game where you guys are probably looking at calling it a night. I imagine you're not looking to do anything this late in the evening. And if you've read your Alien RPG rulebook, you know you have to sleep for 1 shift out of 4 to avoid ill effects anyway. So right. I assume you guys want to just pick this up, say, the following morning.
Me. I do, but being the reporter, I probably should report something. So I would imagine that if I head home, I'm going to spend quite a bit of time typing up something to publish here. Now,
Jake Showalter, while he's walking home, gets ambushed by a bunch of people. He's dead. Okay, next. It would figure, but no. Okay,
you don't
right.
even get a saving throw, bro.
yeah. Right.
No roll for you. Cinematic moment. You're dead.
Right.
It happened. Yeah, that makes sense to me. And your apartment is not far away. You're kind of in the city center. So, the way this colony is laid out, there's the city center, which is relatively compact, not more than a handful of miles in any direction, and then everything else is just kind of spread out to the edges. And I think that's what we determined last time, that your apartment's kind of nearby. And you have a bicycle, if I remember correctly.
That's correct, yeah. I have a bike, so I can get get around a little faster.
I did forget about one point. As you guys were all leaving the St. Francis Medical Center to head over to the Marshall station, the deputy Jim Lennon showed up in his gyro car. He had gone over to the previous crime scene, right, to try to get a new picture or new mold of the tire track, and found that it had been basically washed away. That he couldn't, because he had damaged the last one, if you remember. He had tripped going up the steps and dropped it. So he tried to go get a new one, but it's been washed away by the rain. And as he was walking up to you guys, his car exploded. Yeah. So I forgot that fine point. So just to keep that in mind.
Yeah. So there's definitely a lot to write up now. Out of game character. I mean, I read a lot of alien stuff and everything, but they don't. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good. Yeah, my headphones keep beeping for some reason. They didn't show a whole lot about this. I mean, I'm guessing it's kind of a combination of print and some sort of online in this universe, right? So I'm guessing on this world there would be at least a little bit of infrastructure for something online be published, or is that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The it's very glossed over, and I think the reason it's kind of glossed over is because no one really knows how it works exactly. But there's something called the network. That's just what it's kind of called, the network. This nebulous thing, and it's used for a variety of different things. It's used for obviously sending communications, I guess, via email or something similar to that. But we also saw it in Aliens when Ripley called Burke towards the beginning on that video phone. She was doing that through the network. The card he handed her, she just plugs it into her phone, right, and it automatically calls him. So yeah, I would consider it an internet/communications network that apparently works instantaneously, no matter how many parsecs away you are.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah, great. So I'll write up something. I'll keep it. Since the officers have been nice enough to include me in their investigation, I will attempt to keep it without revealing anything that might be critical to the investigation, so to say.
All right. Perfect.
And then I'll rest.
All right. Sounds good. As far as the three marshals are concerned, and where you guys want to call it a night, the marshal's office does have a bunk room into it available. Also, there is a small one-room apartment that's actually attached to the marshal's office that was specifically used by the previous marshal. So that would certainly be at Justin's. I'm sorry, words. I'm having words issues. It'd be available to Justin if he wanted to use it. And it's safe to assume that Johnny and Melissa both have apartments somewhere nearby. Melissa, I would imagine Melissa's not too fond of the idea of going back to her apartment alone at this point, having already been attacked once. So she'd probably just bed down in the bunk room, I imagine.
Johnny would probably just go back to his apartment.
Gotcha.
Get ready to come back to the marshals first thing in the morning.
Sounds good.
I think Justin will check out that apartment that the former marshal used, and before he retires, he's definitely gonna toss it for potential clues.
Okay. All right. I'll let you do an observation check on that. All right. 2 successes and a panic. The panics begin early. All right. Go ahead and roll your panic, sir. Early. All right. Go ahead and roll your panic, sir. All right. So you're holding it together. Your slight moment of uneasiness is probably caused by just that it's been a long day and a lot of shit has happened today, right? But the place is pretty clean. It's obviously there doesn't seem to be anything left of his personal effects, if there were any here to begin with. It's a relatively small room. It's small apartment. It's literally like 12 foot by 10. Has a bunk, has a foot locker available. There's just built into the side of the wall is kind of a kitchen area with about a coffee maker and maybe something like a microwave, and then like a 2 foot by 2 foot stall to shower in. That's about it. There's really not much here.
Okey-doke.
All right, and Candace, what about you?
Candace will sleep at the marshal's office and just kind of ideas to make sure that she's awake before everybody else, and bring everybody coffee and some bagels and stuff.
All right, sounds good. Sounds good. So you guys, it's been a long day, but in the end, everyone's still alive. So, which you can't always say that in Alien, but the night passes and the next morning comes, so you guys can drop all your stress. The rules never explicitly say this, but it just stands to reason to me, because you lose a point of stress for every turn spent in a safe place, right? Well, a shift is a lot of turns, and if you have to sleep for a whole shift, it should all be gone, is the way I see it. So. Unless, of course, you have a really bad night.
I think that's a good way of reading it. I don't think they meant for it to be any more complicated than that, because conditions handle it if it needs to be. Like if you're sleeping but you're starving, you're not going to recover your stress because of that mechanic.
Correct. Or if you have there's situations where if you have a panic roll that's 11 or higher, you have to make an empathy check at the end of the session to see if there's any long-lasting mental health effects. Right. So, if you end up with nightmares, for example, you can rest your shift, and if you end up with a nightmare, then you don't lose your stress. In fact, I think your stress even goes up one. So, it's a very simple but elegant system. All right, so the next morning comes. Everyone, Candace is probably up early, like she said, getting her coffee and bagels together. Everybody wakes up / saunters over to the Marshal station, I assume.
Where I'm heading.
All right.
Works for me.
So now the question becomes, what's the plan?
We want to follow through with what we were thinking of doing when we ended last session.
Okay. So
I don't know if is that what everybody wants to do?
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I was supposed to go with for that part, right? To do, or I don't know.
Yeah, you were kind of the linchpin of the interrogation of the former marshal.
Right.
The guise of an interview.
I see. Yes.
And Johnny, who knew him, was going to do the intro, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think that was the arrangement.
And I think Candace and I were just going to take a wild.
Yep, he's refreshing, looks like. Yeah, we did lose him a little bit.
I'm here.
So,
can you hear me?
Well, I'll wait till he gets back online. He might.
You don't hear me. Okie dokie. What's going on here?
Got it.
There we go. Hear me?
Yep, gotcha. Yep. So I guess for pre-planning purposes, since we're going to make this an interview, he's suspect because those reports, the cause of death, all those animal attacks, right? And it looks like there weren't many facts or pictures to go along with them, right?
Yeah, it's. I believe it was said last week that the reports were definitely atypical of a medical examiner's report because there was no evidence in with the reports. There's no pictures. There was no, and the cause of death is real shifty.
Right.
So it kind of reeks of a cover-up, and somebody had to know. This this former marshal was the top guy who signed off on these bogus reports. So he had to know. It wasn't like one or two. It was a series of quite a few. So
right. So maybe I can come up with a cover story of I'm going to be putting together a brief history of the colony, and so the reporter me would be looking at different aspects of life on the colony, and I wanted to take a look at crime and punishment and that part of society. And as I was looking through some of the public records, that this stood out to me. I was like, is there a indigenous animal problem that we just haven't really talked about? That'll be the ruse to help have them explain, potentially why you have all these reports that really don't make sense. That could be the cover for it. And obviously you could do the introductions, but then just leave. So it looks like this is an innocent thing. No?
That works, except to the extent that you need a ride out of there.
So I do on my bicycle, but it's far away, right? It's
From your ride in, it doesn't make sense if I leave just as I
yeah.
go up. But otherwise, I think the cover story holds up as a human interest piece without rousing suspicion that we think you've done something wrong here.
Yeah,
Right.
the specifics on where the former marshal lives. He is about 200 kilometers out west on Highway 2. He took over an abandoned farmstead. So if you're driving, it's going to take about 12 turns, which is a good 2 hours. If you do it by air, it's about an hour.
Yeah, so obviously it's not bicycling out there.
Yeah. Either way, it doesn't make sense for me to get in the car and fly away.
So is the gyro car that's considered flying?
It can do either.
Fine.
We can do either. Okay,
Yep.
so it's kind of like from Blade Runner.
Correct.
Okay, yeah. All right. So I mean, that's the part I'll play. Anybody else have ideas, suggestions?
What will you say if he asks you how you came across the reports?
I'll
I can
just
say
say
I gave them to him. There's hardly anybody working at the Marshal station anymore. He came and started talking to me about it, and I just showed him some public records. I'll tell him I'm working some admin duties when people aren't driving around.
there you go. Yep, and then it's freedom of information, that sort of thing. Nothing to hide here, and we just kind of put these pieces together, or at least thought, oh, this is odd, and then I could just use that as part of the story of why we came out.
All right.
What's the
go
former marshal's name again?
Wilson Daggett.
Wilson Daggett. Okay.
I should remember that. Wilson.
That is such a perfect marshal name.
Right?
Does he wear spurs?
The jingle and jangle.
Well, I'm not going to lie. In my original version of this, his name was William Daggett, and it was a picture of Gene Hackman. But because Gene Hackman played a character named Little Bill Daggett in Unforgiven.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
But that's just that. For some reason, that's just the image that came to my mind when I was thinking up this character. But then I realized, you know what? I'm putting this thing out there for people to download for free if they want to play it or whatever. I probably shouldn't use a celebrity's picture any more than I need to.
Right.
Of course, on the other hand, sue me for what?
Yeah.
So, all right. So, and then Justin and Candace, you guys were going to head back the other way. You were going to head out east. Was that the idea? And just see what you can scope around from the standpoint of looking for this church. And I guess I'll just ask, who's Melissa going with? Which party will she be with? Did I lose sound again? Son of a bitch.
Nope.
No.
We just haven't said
We were
it.
just
okay.
decided, yeah.
I was convinced because I'm not showing it on my screen, so I was convinced I lost sound again.
So Melissa was Cole's character.
Correct.
So,
The medical examiner. Yep.
so I'm guessing she's kind of like the old school Quincy MD medical examiner that takes an active part, and
Yeah.
so it wouldn't be weird for her to be coming out, huh?
Nah.
She also just got attacked and probably has a personal interest in seeing through whatever's happening here.
Right. I think coming with us would probably raise too many flags. I don't know. Was she around? I mean, how new of a medical examiner is she?
She has been in the medical examiner's office for a little over a month,
Okay.
and the previous ME died from a heart attack 2 or 3 weeks ago. And there's literally nobody else on colony with the training to do it, so she got the job.
But the only person left that is related to the marshals at all who has, prior relationship with Wilson at all is me, right?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, because
Then I would
obviously
agree.
we have all of our NPC deputies that know him to some extent. But yeah, you're of the PCs, you're the one.
Okay, so yeah, I would agree then that it would raise a red flag to bring anybody additional.
All right. So we'll have her go with Justin and Candace, and I guess we will start. Let's start with Johnny and Jake. So you, Jake, you know where the marshal lives. Like I said, you know he took over an abandoned farmstead that's out west, out Highway 2. You're planning to fly there for speed stakes, or are you looking to drive?
I would say probably fly out.
All right.
I've been assuming we fly everywhere unless otherwise stated, unless it's like too local to do so. Like when we're driving back and forth between the Marshall station and the hospital, those are right beside each other, right? So
yeah,
stay
exactly.
on the ground there, but if we're going 200 kilometers, we'll fly.
Yeah, makes sense. So I will have you make a piloting roll for that.
So I want to check the car to make sure it's not rigged with explosives first.
Fair enough. Heavy machinery.
No successes.
Would you like to push the roll?
Yes, I would.
All right.
There we go.
A success. Yeah, everything's fine. Doesn't look like it's been touched.
Okay. And then you want me to do piloting?
Piloting, yep. Oh, well,
right.
That was pretty impressive. What are the piloting stunts? I need my cheat sheet handy. Let's see here. Because you have 2 available stunts. I'm not sure if they do you much good.
Right?
Can we get there extra fast?
Let's see here.
I got it. It's you got 2 different things: a +1 to a later roll, which is great, or you can show off, do a barrel roll or something.
Would I be able to just take the +1 2 times?
Yes, yeah, you can take that multiple times.
Okay, so I'll keep the 2 +1s to a later piloting roll.
Sounds good. All right. The rain from the previous day and evening has subsided a bit. The sky is still kind of cloud covered and gloomy as you leave the city center, and of course you never get a full sunny day here anyway, which just this cloud cover just adds to the misery. As you pass out of the city center, you find yourself in suburbs relatively quickly, and then after just a few more minutes, you're pretty much out in open country. It's this part of the colony is all very flat. The highway heads in a straight line due west, and the roads that come off it also they come off at right angles. Everything is very straight and sectional. Thinking like American Midwest in terms of the road system out there versus way it's like here on the East Coast, right? And you're in farmland before you know it, but you know where you're heading, and you spot a road that comes off of the highway. You're a good distance out. Obviously, you've been flying for an hour, and this is a gravel road that runs about a mile, and it leads to an old farmhouse as well as an outbuilding. Looks like a barn. And there's room to land if you want to set her down in front of the house. Either that, or you'd be setting her down on the road and driving in.
Probably set down on the road, maybe a kilometer out or so, and cruise in, just not to make a scene.
Sure. So you're driving down this gravel road, and you're on either side of you. You feel like you're out on a farm. There's some sort of crop, corn, you think, probably on either side of you. So it's almost like you're driving through a cornfield tunnel, and it opens up, and it's the when I say a cornfield tunnel, I should say these crops haven't been tended in years, so they're all overgrown with weeds and that type of thing. It's not a healthy farm by any means. But when that kind of opens up, your gravel road ends at a large open yard. It's very flat, cut grass. There's an old Marshall's gyro car there. The Marshall symbol has been painted over rather sloppily, and you remember when Daggett retired, the office gave him the oldest car just so he'd have a way to get around. The house it's an old 2-story, wood-built house. It's not uncommon from what you might find on an actual farm back on Earth, but it looks like it's had a fresh coat of paint slapped on it recently. It's not as old and run down looking as a lot of the buildings are on this colony. There's a barn off to the side, and yeah, there you are.
Pull up, bring the car to a stop, and say, "All right, well, this is it. Let's just let me talk to him first, and hopefully we'll get you in the door."
Sounds good.
All right.
I'll hop out of the car and go up and knock on Wilson's door.
Yep. He's definitely been busy because this place was an abandoned farmstead, and it looks like the deck boards on the front porch have all been recently replaced. You knock on the front door. There's no lights on inside, and you wait a moment, and there's no answer.
Take a look. Are there windows on am I on like a porch with a
Sure.
door and windows on either side?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm gonna take a look through the windows, see what I can see.
We'll make an observation roll at a -2.
I'm not coming up with anything.
Yeah. You can push the roll if you like, of course. That's up to you.
No, instead I think I'm just gonna rap on the window a couple of times and yell, "Hey, Wilson!"
Okay. It's you don't really see much of anything inside. It's very gloomy. There were no lights on inside, and it's rather gloomy outside anyway. So there's not a whole lot of light penetrating the house. It doesn't seem to be anybody home.
Look back at Jake and shrug and say, "I don't know, his car's here, but."
I guess I stroll up. I was hanging back by the vehicle, but I'll stroll up as well. How about if we just make a lap around the house? I'll go that way, you go this way. And I can do an observation roll myself. Mine's probably pretty good.
Okay. When you guys say you're doing a lap around the house, are you doing it together, or are you going like opposite ways and meeting type thing?
Yeah, against my better judgment as a as a player here, I'll say my character will go opposite direction like you suggested.
All right.
I don't know.
What did I do that for? That's not what I wanted done. All right, so go ahead and make your observation. Oh, that's why. I'm an idiot. Go ahead and make your observation roll.
All right.
Okay, that's what I wanted.
Why is that not working for me? All right, hold on. I gotta refresh here.
No sweat.
Get my character sheet back out. Character sheet. Let's see, observation. Oh, I see. It's buried. That's why. For future note for anyone, if you have pop-out windows, your modifier will block anything, or your pop-outs will block your modifier.
Yep.
There we go. I got it. Now I can roll.
Yeah, I learned that the hard way in our first session. 2 successes.
All right.
So you do have a stunt, which I believe on an observation roll allows you to ask a question.
So I got two successes, and observation is.
There it is.
Yeah, it's like I could do. Is it coming for me? Are there more of them close by, or how do I get in past away?
Yeah, none of which really applies in this situation.
Except for looking, I guess, how to get in if there's anything open, obviously.
Okay, yeah, that's good. I like that. As you're walking around the building, everything seems pretty. Everything seems pretty straightforward. There's a couple other windows, and as you're coming around, there's a back porch as well, and you imagine there's going to be a door on that side. You don't see anything to indicate that anybody's home. And I would say you probably, as you're walking by, maybe you check one of the windows, you just lift up on it from the outside a little bit and find that it's locked up tight. As you're coming towards the back side of the house, a man kind of pushes his way out of the cornfield back behind the house. So he's maybe 20 yards away, something along those lines. And he's an older gentleman. He has a rifle with a scope on it that he's just kind of got leaning up against his shoulder. And he takes a look at you, and I'm going to actually see if he knows who you are. Let's see if he knows who you are, shall we?
Sounds good.
Let's see here.
Do I see this? Am I coming around the back of the house?
You're coming around from the other side, so you probably do not see this at this point.
Okay.
Okay, so he takes a glance at you for a moment, or maybe not a glance, but an appraising look. Checking you top to bottom with a marshal's eye, trying to figure out. And then his squint widens just a little bit, and then he gets a smile, and he starts to approach in a non-threatening manner. He's just walking towards you. And he kind of calls out and says, "Hello, you're Jake Showalter, I believe. Isn't that your name?"
And I raise up my hands and say, "Yeah, Marshal Daggett. It's Jake Showalter. I'm the reporter from around these parts. I'm here with Officer Vasquez, and we just wanted to stop by and see how you're doing, and I wanted to chat a little bit if you're okay with that."
Yeah, that would be fine. Where's old Johnny at?
Oh, he should just be on the other side of the house. We knocked on the door but didn't see you, so we just thought we'd check back here. He should be coming around in a second.
So right about then, Johnny probably comes around. You see Daggett standing there. He's probably come within 2 or 3 meters of Jake. Right? He does have his rifle with him. He says he sees you coming. He lifts his hand up and waves. And I've lost video again. What is going on with this? Hold on 1 second. Let me reconnect.
With Roll20 like a week ago, and
Really?
yeah,
Really?
it's just
Cool.
to do content adaptation for other people. But they asked about what's one thing you would change with the platform, and right out of the gate said I've never had a strong experience with your voice or video chat. It's problems every time I've ever used it for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Did they have a response?
That was like a week ago. I haven't heard it back yet.
Oh, I see.
Good luck.
I'll
Yeah,
see what happens.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, I was talking to my daughter about it because obviously, she's a lot more savvy with all these platforms than I am, and I was also looking at what Slices and Dices Gaming does. Are any of you familiar with them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I like them. They do a lot of D&D in the Ravenloft setting, and they do Alien once a month, but they use Roll20 because of its integration with the character sheets, and everything. That's probably the best part about this, right? And they use it for the maps, but all of their audio and video is all done by Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he's got a custom overlay built, which I'm sure my daughter can do and I can't because I don't have a clue. So that it it's got everybody's faces on it, and it's even set up that when a player is talking, the artwork of their character pops on the screen, which is pretty cool.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, I don't know how they do any of that because I mean, I can operate Bluetooth, and that's what I can do. So
it's not fundamentally different from how it shows your volume bar when you start talking. It just pops up an image instead. But if you don't know where to put that image, then you're never going to figure it out. Well, not you're never going to figure it out, but it's a process.
Yeah, it's definitely not my bag. I still prefer to read my books in paper form. So what does that tell you?
I do too. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Plus, I don't care what anybody says, and my wife thinks I'm crazy, but there's nothing like the smell of a brand new role-playing game book. Okay. Anyway, so he waves at Johnny, and he starts as you're coming around. He says, "Hey, Johnny, good to see you. How have you been?"
Wilson, I'm all right. How about you? Sorry to bother you.
Oh, it's no bother. I was actually just heading out to do a little hunting, or at least to maybe sit around in a tree for a while and see if there's anything to do. But I heard the car in the air, so I decided to head back. There wasn't much reason for anyone to come out here, so I was wondering if whoever it was coming to see me. But it's good to see you.
It's good to see you too. So, Mr. Showalter here, he has a couple of questions. He came by the station. He's writing up a piece about life on the colony here. And we started going through some of the old crime reports and came upon some interesting stuff related to animal attacks. Jake was hoping to ask you some questions about it. It looked like maybe you knew more about it than anybody else.
He kind of... Yeah, we can do that. Here, let's just come inside, and he points at the back door to the house. He goes, I can put on some coffee or tea if you prefer, whatever you want to do. You just let me know. I'm not much of a specialist, but I can get you something that's drinkable.
That'd be lovely.
Sounds great.
Yeah. So he walks up to the back porch, opens the door, pulls out just an old school metal key, unlocks the door. As soon as he steps foot, inside, lights start to come on in the house, and he checks his rifle for a moment, makes sure that there's a safety on, and then he just sets it in the corner of the kitchen, just leaning up against a kitchen counter. There's an old school coffee pot off to the side that's just sitting there. It's probably half full of who knows how old coffee. He turns a hot plate on to start warming it up. So he reaches up into the cabinet and he goes, "Yeah, I haven't, since I retired, I haven't had anybody come out to see me yet. So it's nice to have a little company here." He's pulling out a couple coffee cups and setting them on the counter. He kind of motions at a round table in the middle of the kitchen, just like an old school basic oak number with a couple chairs, and says, "Make yourselves at home."
Great. So I say thank you, Marshall. Do you mind if I call you Wilson?
No, it's okay. I'm not a marshal anymore. I'm retired. Wilson's just fine.
Okay. So I sit down, and we all sit down, get kind of comfortable, and I start explaining the reasoning for my interest in doing a little bit of a history project. And so I say, Wilson, I've been a reporter here for a while, and everything's kind of in a decline now, including the news service for on planet here. But I think it's important for people back on the main planet and colonies know what it's like to be out here alone and maybe have everybody else kind of forget about you, right? It's not a great place to be right now. And so I thought if I'd flesh out what daily life would be like on this colony, then maybe we could get a little bit of positive interest again. Reviewing just all kinds of records, including municipal records, we noticed that there seems to be maybe a little bit more minor of a problem of indigenous animal attacks. And I hadn't really come across that too much in my reporting before, and just wanted to know what kind of insight you could give me on that, whether that's something that the initial colonists really had to deal with a lot, or is this something that you've noticed about animals encroaching on more civilized areas of our colony? Do you have any recollection or thoughts on that part of the story?
He, as you're talking, he's kind of nodding. He's pouring some warmed up, brownish black fluid that looks like it might be coffee into coffee cups, and he's bringing them over to the table. Brings over a small, like a saucer or something that's got some sugar in it, and he goes, "Yeah, I've lived on this colony almost my whole life, and I've served this colony for over 40 years, and it's sad to me to see it, as it's gone downhill, as people have left. I'll never leave this colony. I'll die here. It just there's nothing else for me out there and in the world. We this colony, this planet doesn't have a very large habitable zone, all things considered, and my parents were some of the, not the first colonists, but they were early colonists, and as the main colony and what's now the city got built, and as it spread outward, we pushed some of the natural wildlife out, and that was certainly that had to be difficult when you think about it. That had to be difficult, I guess, for those animals, and I guess they just did what animals do, if that makes sense, especially if their habitat or their food source is being threatened, especially some of these larger animals that are carnivorous. They're going to find food sources. They're going to find other food sources, I guess, and I guess that includes people, unfortunately. It's something I never really thought about.
So one thing that we were a little puzzled by is there, in the reports for these animal attacks, there isn't a whole lot of specifics, whether it was the same types of animals, same types of wounds. I'm not super familiar with police procedures, so Officer Vasquez, if you have anything to add, with what we saw that might help Marshall here.
Well, I mean, I'm not an investigator, but I know what's supposed to be there with the files from carting you guys around all the time. There were no photos, really no facts to support anything. More or less what Jake's asking you, they're just scan on details. The other marshals seemed a little puzzled too, like the reports were not what they would have expected for an animal attack or really any kind of incident.
And you understand this is for, historical purposes here. We haven't seen anything, I don't think, obvious about any animal attacks popping up recently. So, just kind of fill in the gaps here, Marshall, if you have any recollection.
That's interesting. It does seem odd, that there wouldn't be pictures. Of course, Marlowe, may rest in peace. He did all the medical exams. I would get the call and I'd head out and I'd find, if that's what I found, I just put the call into him and the medical, St. Francis, to have the body come picked up. I just signed off on, an animal attack is pretty obvious when you see one. It didn't seem to be much of a need to determine what kind of animal. They happen. We've got those alligators out in the swamps, and we've got some bears and some large cats. Especially out here on the fringes where there's not a lot of people. People run afoul of animals. It happens, unfortunately. That's why I carry a gun with me. And he points at the rifle.
Right. Okay. Out of character here. Does that jive with what we saw in the reports? I can't recall that. Are these attacks on the outskirts, or were there some
They were mostly on the outskirts. There were a few that were reported, not quite in the city center, but closer to the city. If you were to take a map of the whole colony and put in push pins of where they came from, they were mostly on the outskirts, and as you got closer to the colony, they decreased in quantity.
Okay. I'd like to see if I could do a manipulation roll to see if I can get them to tell us if there's any consistent patterns to these injuries that maybe weren't in the reports or anything that might be omitted on purpose. I'm not sure how to phrase that in real life, but
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll let you do that.
so here we go with manipulation.
All right.
We got one success. Too bad.
All right. He kind of frowns a little bit and looks down at his cup and kind of looks back up at you, a little bit of squint in his eye. Left out. I'm not quite sure what you're driving at, Mr. Showalter.
I'm just looking for patterns here to explain for the story of whether this is something that recurred over and over again with the same type of creature or animal, or if this was if there was a pattern where maybe you could identify the same type of injury across several different victims. That's all.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure is the answer to that, but I might pose a different question to you that you can use this as what do scientists call it, as a control group. How many people live in the United Americas back on Earth right now? What is it? Maybe 1 billion? Somewhere in that
Sounds
ballpark?
reasonable. Sure.
Okay. And over the course of a year, something to the tune of 5 to 10 million people are reported missing back in the United Americas. And that's a lot of people.
That seems reasonable, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And of those 5 to 10 million, most are probably found. I think you could probably look for these statistics, but I'd say probably within a week, most of them are found. Let's be blunt. Most probably want to be found, even if they're a kid running away from home. After a few days, they want to go home.
Mm-hmm.
But some aren't found, and maybe some are found later, and they're no longer with us. And those things happen, especially on a colony like this, especially when we have young people that have decided they don't want to be found. All those PDT chips that they've been taking out of their arms and sending back to the marshal's office. So, maybe you should look into the overall statistics of these types of things and compare them to our numbers and decide if you think they're disproportionate or not.
I'm not sure I understand the parallels there, Wilson. It sounds like you're suggesting you don't actually know how these people died.
I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that I saw these bodies, and Charles Marlowe, a very good and thorough medical examiner who served in that type of position for over 20 years, was said without a shadow of doubt that it was an animal attack, and that was good enough for me. We have enough problems on this colony just trying to keep it held together and to keep people from committing petty crime and to keep the young people from getting into X-stems and killing each other, and to worry about a couple of random animal attacks or missing persons. Those types of things happen.
Well, just with all due respect to Mr. Showalter's intelligence, his job's not to make the larger view vaguer assumption. He came to ask if you know anything about what's happened so that he could write about the culture of the colony. I think it's a fair question, and I think it's fair for him to put a point on it.
Well, that's fair enough then. And you've obviously got all the public records, the death certificates and medical examiner reports. I really don't know that I can add much to that.
Well, that's probably fair too. Jake?
And I put up my hands again. Look, fellas, I don't want to get anybody upset or pry too much. I really appreciate you guys helping me with this project of mine. I think it'll be good for everybody on world here.
He gets a big warm smile as you say that, and he goes, "Who's upset?"
Okay,
Johnny put his hands up, says, "Not me. No, there's no tension here."
Right. So I go on with a little bit more idle chit chat. Maybe, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and just try to use manipulation again, just to, get him to think that we're exactly what we say we are, and not trying to find out anything that he might be hiding.
Okay.
To ease his mind, so to speak, before we leave, if that's what we're going to do. So I'll go ahead and roll it, see what happens here.
I don't think either of us has any truth serum.
Yeah.
Does Jake have truth serum that we don't know about?
No, unfortunately not.
And no stress
truth serum over there, Jim?
Yeah, no stress dice, so that's good. I'll take that.
All right. So I guess the conversation continues, for a few minutes, and he takes a sip of coffee, which he grimaces and goes, "Sorry about the coffee. I know it's terrible, but you gents probably have a good ride in front of you back to town, don't you?"
Look at Jake and shrug and say, an hour.
We should probably get going. I appreciate all your time there, Marshall.
Absolutely. He starts to stand up. Do you either of you need to use the facilities before you head out? He kind of points out a doorway. He goes, "There, right there in the hall, right by and there's the there." So yeah, if you need to do what you need to do, I get it. You got to ride back.
I'll glance at my coffee cup and nod and say, "Yeah, sure, I'll go."
All right.
Yeah.
All right. It's it's pretty clean, old school bathroom. Probably a big doily on the back of it or something. Nice cotton towel. Nothing. Some hand soap, a sink. Nothing crazy. I guess as everyone finishes up, he smiles again and says, "Well, Johnny, it was great to see you. You should bring some of the guys. Give me a call one day. Bring some of the guys. We'll get a barbecue going or something. Hopefully, maybe I can find something to shoot and cook for us rather than colony standard prefab meals. But you should bring the guys by and stop by at least for a beer once in a while."
Yeah, sure thing, Wilson. Speaking of the guys, let me run one more thing past you. This is Marshall business, not Jake's thing.
Oh, all right.
They've been working honestly, possibly a murder case. Did you hear anything about the young woman who died?
No, I don't. No one calls me out here. I just kind of do my thing. I don't get on the network much.
Just real quick, your time acting as lead marshal here on the colony, do you have any run-ins with a weird church or a cult of any kind you might be able to shed some light on?
No, I don't think so. I think something like that would stand out.
Well, it's standing out with what they're looking at right now, but I don't know if maybe you'd run into any religious extremists in the past, anything like that. I hadn't heard of them. We still don't know what we're looking at. So I just thought I'd run it past you and see if you knew anything about religious nuts stirring up trouble in your years.
No, sorry to hear that.
Sorry, while these two are chatting, can I, I'm just going to be a little snoopy and try to glance around, maybe into the next room, just kind of meander a little bit if he doesn't notice me, and do an observation of...
Sure.
Without, being too intrusive.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
You found all the pictures of the animal attacks.
That's right, yeah. The living room is Well, the living room's like the next room over, by the front door, I guess you might say, or living room or den or whatever you want to call it. Living room is not really very accurate. It doesn't look extremely well lived in. The furniture is old, but it's clean and in good condition. There's a sofa, a love seat. There's old school electric lamps that look like they probably come on when someone enters the room, proximity, that type of thing. But they're made to look old-fashioned, maybe from something mid-20th century, that type of thing. There's a rug by the front door that has very little dirt on it. Usually you would expect in a place like this, you'd expect to see like a set of shoes next to the front door or something along those lines. There's really not much of anything. It looks like he barely uses the room. You do notice a lack of any sort of terminal, which goes along with what you say he doesn't get on the network very much, I guess. But the other thing is, as they're talking and you kind of glance back,
I'll be right back. I can hear you.
Okay, go ahead. There's a very slight as Johnny Vasquez asks him that question, and he shakes his head and says no, he doesn't. No, it doesn't. Never ran into anything like that. There's something about it. Maybe a very slight dilation of his pupils, or maybe it's just the one bead of sweat that runs, kind of out of his sideburn down the side of his face near his ear. You're not sure you believe him.
Okay.
Would I be able to roll to see if I believe him? I don't know if it'd be empathy or maybe observation.
It'd be an observation roll. Yep, you can do that.
All right. Let's see. I was actually going to ask already to see if I really think he's being truthful.
Okay, fair enough. With roll your panic, sir.
No problem.
4. So you're holding it together, but yeah, no, you don't have any reason to doubt his sincerity.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I'm glad he didn't see me snooping around too much, and I'll just take my side next to Vasquez and wait for them to finish their conversation. So that's what I'm doing.
Okay.
And I'm still listening. I just got to run out.
No problem. So
if I don't get any further sense that he's not being forthcoming, and he says he doesn't know what's going on, I'll probably walk away.
All right, that sounds good. So yeah, let me. This is irking me. Let me reconnect again real quick because you guys can hear me, but there's no video, right?
Yep.
Uh-huh. It's funny because the camera thinks it's on and transmitting. It's got to be a Roll20 thing. Yeah, so he basically leads you to the front door and opens it up and unlocks and opens it up and says, well, you two gentlemen have a safe trip home, safe trip back to the city, okay?
Yeah, thanks for your time, Wilson. Again, sorry to interrupt your hunting.
Oh, not a problem. I don't often come across much. It's more of a hobby. I'm certainly no good at it. And he holds his hand out to you.
Yeah, I'll reach out and shake it and say, I'll let you know about the boys and the barbecue and beer.
He goes, that sounds great. That would be a good time when they can find some time to knock off and let the new marshal just hang around and keep an eye on things.
Yeah, maybe we get a handle on this church thing. We'll come out.
All right, sounds good. Thanks a lot. Great to see you, Johnny. And he shakes Jake's hand as well as, I guess, you guys head out, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Head out, get back in the car. I'd probably look at Jake and shrug and say, what do you think?
Something's fishy here. Maybe we should do a lap in the air around the farmhouse before we take off.
When I knew, when I knew him as Marshal Daggett, was he... I don't know how the marshals are around the planet. Is it kind of somebody's got to do this job, so we're here, and if we can get clearances on these cases, we'll take it, and otherwise we'll just try to find something, and that's kind of how everyone is? Or did I know him as a more thoroughgoing investigator than what he's talking about here?
You knew him towards the end of his career, And the stories about him when he was younger were that that he took his job very seriously, that he truly loved the colony, he loved everybody in it. He didn't always throw the book at everybody when they did something wrong. He was more kind of like the small town sheriff that everybody knows type guy. He wanted to keep things positive because the colony was already declining. But those are the stories from when before, because you're a little bit of a younger guy, so you came in towards the end of his stint as marshal, and there's no question in your mind that he was that those stories didn't really match up to who the guy was in probably the last 5 years of being marshal. That he was much more laid back. He wasn't in as much of a hurry. He wasn't in much of a hurry to go anywhere or do anything, because it's a small colony, and he was probably getting close to retirement anyway.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll probably shrug and say I'm not sure. I think he might just be an old burnout cop. Did the job for too long, but I'm not sure. When are most of the reports from? You said most of the reports are from the last 10 years, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd probably just go ahead and disclose. I'm not sure really at the end that he was the guy who attained that station in the first place when he was younger. What do you think's suspicious?
I just get a feeling things are, I don't know, for a guy that's been living in that house for so long, it seemed awfully tidy. He came out of the cornfields with a long rifle, and it's pretty hard to shoot long distances in the cornfield. I don't know, something. If you don't mind, we could just, cruise, do a slow circle and just check it out, and maybe we'll see something, maybe we won't. That's all.
Yeah, we'll do one. Let's
Okay.
not impose on him too much, and maybe most importantly, if you're right, let's not shake him up a little bit in case we need to come back here.
I agree.
So I would take off and do just a circle around to get an overhead view of the plot surrounding the house, and then the fields outside of it. Johnny wouldn't think it's super suspicious. He has a long rifle in the cornfield. He said he had it in case he needed to shoot something, but also might do some hunting. But I would also probably take a look to see if the cornfields end anywhere that he could really get into the woods. Sure. Or if he's got miles and miles to walk, that just really doesn't make any sense at all.
It's there's definitely large swaths of cornfields here, acres and acres and acres of corn that's not really being well taken care of, but that's not too surprising because it was an abandoned farm anyway when he took it over. There is wooded areas not too far. There are wooded areas. There is wooded areas. I'm not sure. Not too far away from the house, probably just a mile or two hike through the corn before sparse trees show up, and then there's some woods. So, and that is the direction he came from. So it doesn't seem too odd.
Just him with the gun out in the field doesn't seem off.
Right. No, not too much. No. Though, there's some logic to be said that in a cornfield, having a rifle may not be the best weapon. Because you probably wouldn't be able to see a target till it was pretty much right on you. But if he said he was headed, out to hang out in a tree, so that's a little bit of a different scenario in that instance, if that makes sense.
Sure.
All right. So, is there anything else you guys want to do before you head back?
Is it worth us making an observation roll for the fly
Oh, sure.
around?
Go ahead.
Do you want to just do it and I'll help?
Yeah, I'll do it.
All right. So gain a +1 modifier, or a 1 modifier.
Okay.
Look at that.
Would you like to push the roll?
Sure. I'm going to push that roll. So I got to add a stress.
Yep.
And I'd still do the +1.
Okay. That's success. Nothing really out of the ordinary.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So if you want to make your trip back, go ahead and make your piloting roll for that. If you're flying
Can I
back
just
home.
throw one of my +1s at it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yep. So.
Because we're not trying to do anything fancy, right?
Right. You're just flying back.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's fine.
use one of my +1s.
All right, so we're an hour there, hour back. Maybe the whole interaction took about a half hour or so. Okay, very good. All right, so Candace and Justin, thank you for your patience.
No problem.
So you guys are going to take one of the 4-door gyro cars, or are you planning to take the tractor, or what's your plan?
Well, I don't know what Candace's skills are, but I'm not sure I can fly a gyro car. Is that a skill?
Yeah, it'd be piloting.
Yep, piloting 0 as well, so I guess we're taking the tractor.
Well, you can
Yeah.
drive the gyro car. Yeah, you could drive it as well. You wouldn't necessarily have to fly it. And I don't typically require a piloting role for just driving a vehicle, because unless you're in a high-speed chase, right, that's nothing abnormal that beyond the skill set of a normal person. But you could take the tractor if you feel like you needed anything off-road. Just those are the vehicles. Yeah, obviously you're not going to take a 2-door gyro car because there's only three. There's 3 of you. So unless you're going to strap Melissa to the roof or something. All right. So you guys pile in and head driving east out Highway 4. That's the idea?
Yep.
All right.
I mean, I'll talk to Candace about this, but my thinking was just to take a stab in the dark and head in the same direction that tractor was reported going. What's her name? The victim's friend, as she described to us. And I don't know, I see if we can find anything out of the ordinary, see if we can find a suspicious, out of the way location. I don't know, man. Look for something that gives out a culty vibe, maybe. See what we can come up with.
Sounds good. Yep.
All right. So as you head east through the city, you pass the you approach and pass the pickup point that Jenny and our poor dead Rosalie was supposed to be picked up at, where they saw the Weyland-Yutani tractor, and he slowed down and then just kept driving away. Which means, of course, you pass the turn-off point to where you would head towards the bar that she worked at. And the highway kind of gives way to these I want to say sort of rolling suburbs, neighborhood type areas, strip malls, strip shopping centers like what you might expect in a small town. Most of them are, most of these places are relatively empty. They're because the colony's 1/10 of what its population was. So there's just not enough people to keep all these places in business. So as far as churches are concerned, there are a couple out here that you kind of see off the cuff. Because you're going through neighborhoods, right? And neighborhoods have churches, or you're going through suburbs, and suburbs have churches. There's probably one over there, that was renting retail space from a strip center. Because when strip centers can't fill their stores, they oftentimes will rent to churches pretty cheap. There's probably a First Baptist church over there, non-denominational standalone church over here, that type of thing. So it's really a question of exactly what you think you're looking for.
Well, I'm looking for someplace more out of the way than this. I don't think that these weird illicit activities would be going on in the middle of a suburb, but maybe I'm wrong.
Okay. All right. So if you keep driving, say down the highway, because on a highway you can go pretty quickly. Figure 2 or 3 turns, so that's maybe a half hour or so out.
We're also
Go ahead.
keeping our eye open for. I'm sorry to interrupt you. For,
No, please.
Weyland-Yutani tractors, right? So if
Okay.
you see one,
All right.
that'll be worth noticing as well.
Yeah, there's not a lot of traffic out and about. An occasional car here or there, but that's certainly a good call. I'll keep you informed should that happen. About a good half hour or so out of the from the meeting point that didn't happen. things are getting a little more sparse. The highway shrinks down to a 2-lane highway that starts to roll into some foothills, and so it's kind of bendy, and it starts to become bendy and twisty going up and down through the hills. The road is in some places goes over and through the hills. In some places it seems to be almost cut right between wooded areas that you're beginning to enter, and you're not out of civilization by any means. I mean, there's homes, but instead of groups of homes on neighborhood streets, you're seeing individual houses on a couple acres of land separated by trees and woods from the next house over, that type of thing. As you're driving for a good, like I said, a good half hour or maybe a little more, and the population density is definitely lower, you definitely do see that you're coming up on a church. You're probably an hour from the Marshall station at this point, so you're getting out into the not quite the far fringes of the colony, but you're headed that way. This is a standalone brick church. As you're approaching it, it seems to be in pretty good repair. It's got a garden out front, and you see a man out tending that garden. So this is the first, shall we say, out of the way church you've come across.
What do you think, Candace?
Let's do a drive-by and have a look at what's out front, and if we see any cars, it's a good place to start. We don't have any other place.
Try to circle around the back as well, see if there's a tractor nearby.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll check it out. We'll do a 360 before we step in.
All right. So there's a sign out front which identifies it as St. Mark's Episcopal Church, and as you start to come up on it, and as you said, kind of circle it, do a 360. It's an older building, but it's in pretty good repair. It's got a steeple that's painted white, relatively clean. So someone washes it or repaints it relatively regularly. You see a man you didn't spot him at first. He was knelt down tending the garden. As you pull in and kind of go around the building, he kind of stands up and he's looking at you. He's an older African American man, probably in his 60s, you would guess.
All right, I guess pull in close to him and get out.
All right. And he's got a pair of gardening gloves on. He's got a small pair of clippers in one hand, and as he sees you getting out of the car, he's kind of holding his hand up over his eyes a little bit, and he drops it as you guys park and get out of the car, and he's just regarding you quietly. He's wearing he's probably wearing just a pair of heavy pants and some boots and a button-up, probably flannel-esque shirt. As you're getting out of the car, he calls out. He goes, hi, folks. How are you all today?
Good. I'm Marshal Averon. This is my deputy, Candace Bryant. How are you today?
He says,
I'm fine, thanks.
what's that? Oh, shoot. Hold on one moment. All right. So, okay, that's right. You introduced yourselves, and he's like I said, he's probably in his mid or late 60s. He's got short white hair. He's got a little bit of a white mustache, and he pulls his gloves off one at a time and offers his hand to shake hands. He says, "It's a pleasure to meet you, Marshal," and he holds his hand out to Candace and says, "Miss Candace, that's a beautiful name. That was my mother's name."
Well, thank you.
I'm My name's Irons. Heroic Irons.
Really?
What he goes? Well, yeah, that was my ma. She was a special lady. She liked special names.
Works for me.
So what can I help you folks with? I don't see many marshals come out these ways.
Yeah, we're sorry to have to bother you today, Mr. Irons, but we're investigating the unfortunate death of a young lady, and we're wondering if she might be a member of your congregation.
Oh, well, I don't know that we've had. I don't know that we've had anybody die recently. I mean, obviously, this church's been here a long time. I was born here, and I've taken care of it my whole life. And our congregation isn't as big as it once was. We've had, people get old, things happen. What was this young lady's name?
Her name's Rosalie Dawson.
He kind of, no, it doesn't ring a bell. We only get, we have services every Sunday. We have mass every Sunday, and we haven't had. I don't know anyone by that name. We usually only get about 20 of the people who live around here. As there were more churches in these areas, and as people have gone and left, and people from some other churches have folded into ours, but that name doesn't sound familiar. I'm sorry.
You ever have folks from downtown, from the suburbs and such, come this way for service?
Well, not real often. No, they kind of stick to themselves. We're an Episcopal church, but we kind of just serve all members at this point because there's so few people that come to church anymore.
You mind if we take a look inside?
No, help yourself. The door's open. Father Johnson's not here at the moment. He ran to town to pick up a few things, but you're welcome to look around.
Any idea when he'll be back?
Probably, I don't know, an hour, maybe two. Just
Okay.
went in for basic supplies and such.
And can we make a observation check to see if he's truthful?
Please. I'll always give you the opportunity to roll dice and panic. Oh, yeah, no, it's, he seems to be a completely straightforward, honest guy.
Candace, I don't know if you took down your stress after your overnight sleep.
No, but I did now, thank you.
Yeah.
There we go. This thing's irking me. Okay. Alright, what would you guys like to do?
Well, I guess let's go inside and have a look. I mean, this is such a stab in the dark. I don't think we'll find anything, but you never know.
Alright. It's it's brick steps up to a white double door. He says, if need anything else, let me know. I'll just be right here tending the flowers. And he starts to shrug his gloves back on. Door's unlocked. It like I said, it's a double door, so it kind of opens up, and you kind of see what you might expect to see. It's wooden pews. There's a pulpit with an altar and a not just a cross, but a crucifix at the end. And it's really kind of what you expected to see is the best way to put it.
They have a basement?
That's a good question. I would imagine yes, they do have a basement.
Let's go check that out.
All right.
I don't think they're conducting. I don't think a cult like the one we're looking for would do this in the open.
So there's at the back of the nave, there's probably a couple different doors that go into the rear of the church, where you would probably find a couple of offices, and probably the priests or fathers or preachers room, what have you, and back there I'd say is where, and nothing's locked, everything's pretty open, and back there you would find a set of steps that one set goes up. There's you definitely saw that there's an upper level to the church, probably for sound and recording equipment and stuff like that, and then the other set of steps goes down.
Let's go down.
Okay. You find yourself in a hallway. This floor doesn't seem to be very big. To your left is an open doorway that's just a bathroom, and then this hallway is probably 8 or 10 meters long total, and there's several rooms off the hallway that the doors are open. One of the rooms is, I assume you're just basically snooping around at this point, so I'll describe what you see as you go. And stop me if you want to do anything in particular. But one of the rooms contains a bunch of desks, like what you might see in a school. The ones with the chairs with the arm and the desktop built in. It's not a very big room. There's probably 10 or 12 of these desks, and there's a whiteboard at one end of the room. Another one of the rooms is similar, but there's posters and pictures up around the room that seem to be depicting scenes, probably from the Bible, that are clearly geared towards kids, if that makes sense, in terms of the way the imagery is portrayed.
Space aliens.
Yeah, no, it all strikes you as kind of a Sunday school type setting.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's no indication that there might be an area to this that we're not finding.
You may make an observation roll if you like.
All right.
Oh, all right. And you have your investigator talent if you wanted to add that into it as well, of course.
Sure. So I guess I can ask one of these questions for every success. So, could there be like a hidden area down here somewhere?
There is not.
Okay. And is there a sign that a lot of people have been down here doing stuff, like, I don't know, converting one of these big rooms?
As a matter of fact, I would say the opposite. While nothing is really disturbed here, and everything is in fairly good repair, there's also a relatively fine layer of dust on everything. It doesn't look like these rooms have probably been used in a while.
Candace, I think we might be wasting our time.
Could be, but while we're here, I guess we check out all the rooms we can.
Is there more to the basement area?
No, that about sums it up in the basement.
All right. I guess let's go back upstairs. Do an observation roll up there, see if we, see anything untoward.
All right. Go for it. Yeah, the successes keep flying. No, everything seems as it should be. And like I said, nothing is really secured here. None of the rooms are locked. There's a small office that has a network terminal on it, on the desk. There is also a room that you assume is probably Father Johnson's quarters. It's got a double bed in it. That's well kept. There's a a bookcase with a variety of old fashioned paper books. Most of it probably philosophical and religious epistemologies and whatnot. He also has a desk in that room. But everything on this level seems pretty well kept, and there's really nothing out of the ordinary or hidden here.
Do we want to go upstairs?
Yes, I don't really want to come back here if we don't have to, sir.
Okay.
Especially while, the father isn't here. Let's have a look at everything.
Sounds good. Let's go upstairs one.
All right. So as you head up, there is it comes up to a landing, and there's a rail that looks down over the nave area. There's also a table here that has some electronic equipment on it. It looks like there's a couple speakers up here. There's a video camera that points down over where the congregation would be. It's not a very large area. It's only a couple meters, probably 2-3 meters by 5 meters. Just enough room for someone to work at, or someone up here maybe to record what's going on below. Other than that, it's pretty empty.
Observation roll?
Sure.
Looking for anything out of place?
Doesn't look to be, no.
All right. I think we can go.
Just have a poke around the camera and stuff, and see what's the last thing recorded, etc. If we can.
Sure, you can do that. Absolutely. It's a pretty standard electronic video camera, electronic digital video camera, and so today is what is today? Today is Friday. So the last thing that was recorded was a mass on a Sunday morning. That looks like it went from in the morning to close to midday.
Is it possible to look at last week Wednesday?
There's no entry for that. It looks like the only entries for the last months and months have been just on Sundays.
Right. Okay.
Do we want to look and see if Rosalie's in the crowd? Pick one at random.
Yes.
You
Might
can
as
do
well.
that. All right. We'll call that an observation roll. Oh, well, that's with 2 successes from Candace. No, you've got a pretty good image of her in your head, from yesterday, and just scanning through maybe the last couple Sundays there, you do not see her in the crowd.
Okay.
And crowd is a relative term. It might be 24 people on a busy day.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we've snooped around enough in this place. Let's go back outside and head towards Heroic Irons. Thanks, Mr. Irons. We appreciate your cooperation.
Oh, it's not a problem at all, Marshals. I hope you find what you're looking for. Do you have anything else you need from me?
Yeah. You know of any other small churches in this area? Maybe something a little rural, something out of the way. We know that Rosalie was very dedicated to her church, and that it wasn't big to do.
Well, I mean, there's most of the churches out these parts have closed up. There's just not enough people. But there's some a few more miles out the highway, out Highway 4, heading west. There's some Jehovah's Witnesses that have a Kingdom Hall that is still up and running.
Anything kind of new? kind of on the fringes?
Not that I really remember. Not that I can think of. So
Anybody
few
around
people
here
come
drive
out
a-
this way.
Anybody around here drive a big old Whalen-Yutani tractor? Goes to church?
He kind of looks at you for a second, and he kind of cocks his head. And he says, "You know, now that you mention it, this was, I don't know when. This is a couple weeks ago, but that I was it was after dark. It was night. I had come out of the house, and I don't remember what I was doing. I think I was just checking to make sure that the church was locked up, that the front doors were locked up, and I'd be if there wasn't a big Whalen-Yutani tractor that went by that night. I think it was a Whalen-Yutani. It might have been a Daihotai. I'm not sure, but it was a tractor. It was nighttime, maybe 7 o'clock, and it was heading out west. It went right by. I didn't pay much attention to it, but since you bring it
West
up,
along this road right here?
yeah, right here off 4.
All right, Mr. Irons, that's actually very helpful. I'll hand him my card. If you remember any other unusual details, I hope you'll give us a call.
He slides the card into a shirt pocket and goes, I'll do that. I'll do that.
All right, I'll shake his hand and get back in the car.
Alrighty.
Let's go west, Candace.
Yeah, only lead we have.
All right. So you are driving west. The to call Highway 4. Oh my gosh, what is this? Is irking me. It really shouldn't bother me that much that my video feed went out, because you guys
We
hear
still
me.
hear you.
Yeah.
For what that's worth, we still hear you fine.
Yeah. So I'm just going to cope with it. To call Highway 4 a highway at this point is really just it's a misnomer. It's just at this point it's just an old country road that is driving through woods and hills, and as you continue west, the trees get thicker, which blocks out what little sunlight you tend to get around here, making things very gloomy and hard to see much of anything. You still pass the occasional house. Probably 20 minutes down the road, and of course you're not going as fast as you were going when it was a long straight highway. You know, those gyro cars are good for 100 kilometers an hour on the ground, but with the narrowness of the road and the twists and turns, you're probably keeping it a bit lower speed. You do pass, or you come upon, I should say, a church that that the sign declares it as a Jehovah's Witness Kingdom Hall, which Heroic Irons did mention the Jehovah's Witnesses to you. So that's the next thing resembling a church, and of course he told you to expect that it was down there. Do you wish to keep going, or do you want to stop and check that out?
I guess we should check it out.
Okay. So I would say you turn off the road onto a gravel road and pull up into a kind of a gravel parking area. There's no vehicles about. The church seems quiet, or the Kingdom Hall, I guess is the correct terminology, seems quiet.
We make sure to look for any cars or tractors as we go in.
Okay. Make an observation roll for me.
You did say make an observation roll. I'm sorry, I was having a bad
Yeah, no, it's okay. Yep. Wow, that's impressive. All right, so as you approach, the it looks like the place is currently closed and locked up. There are no cars or tractors of any kind in the parking area, and with the number of successes I'll give you, I'll tell you that there are certainly tracks in the gravel, from vehicles. Nothing that looks like it's as big as a tractor. And as you're kind of looking around, this is when, and this Kingdom Hall is kind of in a little bit of a clearing in the woods, right? So you're getting a little bit of and it's on the top of a small hill, so you're getting a little bit of a clearer look around, and you see something that you probably didn't catch your attention. You probably ignored it as you were driving, but it's a few miles distant to the north, on top of a hill. What originally you thought was just maybe a copse of trees in the distance, or just a bunch of overgrowth, that type of thing. It looks suspiciously like a building covered in vines and growth, similar to like kudzu, if you know what that looks like. And what you thought might have been a tree looks like it might actually be an old steeple. It's it's probably 2 miles to the north, so but that's it's something that's really standing out to you now that before you really didn't see. Maybe it was the angle you were seeing it at. You're not sure.
All right, I'll get on the radio and let the deputies at the station know that we're going off the beaten track. Give them our address. Let them know how far to the north we're going to be traveling on foot. And, we'll go check it out.
All right. So here's what we're going to do. Get back to my stinking PDF. There we go. If I can find it. I'm terrible when it comes to this in my PDF, man. It's absolutely terrible. All right, so so you're going to head that way on foot then. That's the plan.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it sounded by your description like it might be hard to drive.
Yeah, you would have to drive around a while probably to see if you could even find any type of road that gets that way. So, as you're walking, it's a little bit of a hike, but it's easy enough ground up and down hills, that type of thing. You kind of reach the bottom of a hill, and you realize that you're standing in the space between two hills, and as you're looking up to where you were headed, you really can no longer see the building that you saw. It looks mostly just like it basically looks like you're looking at trees, is the best way to put it. This looks like it will be a relatively tough part of the hike because the trees are thick. There's roots everywhere, and the ground is rather muddy from yesterday's rain.
Is there a sign of passage in this area? Is that an observation though? I don't know.
I'm trying to decide if I want to make that. Yeah, we'll make it an observation roll.
Can our ME make observation roll as well?
Yeah, she can do that. She can absolutely do that. She's
I forgot
kind of.
she's with us.
Yeah, she's being very quiet. She's thinking about her life choices that led her to getting attacked in her own office. All right. So we've got a success from Justin, a success from Melissa, and nothing from Candace. Obviously, only one success is all you need, though, so you don't need to push the roll. You as you're kind of scouting the area out a little bit, I guess the best way to say it would be to try to find a safer way up. It was, or an easier way up, I should say. It was almost impossible to see, but there is definitely a dirty, muddy track that goes up the hill between some trees. It was not easy to spot, but I would say Justin and with Melissa helping you look around, you guys were able to track this down. I'm not hearing you.
I can hear him.
Oh.
Yes,
Yeah.
I can hear you. I don't think Marty can
Hold
hear.
on. Let me reconnect. All right. Here we go.
Yes.
All right.
This sounds like it might be something important. So, can you hear me okay, Marty?
I can. I'm good.
Normally, I would just say let's just go investigate it, but it sounds like we could probably use the other players' help with this, and it sounds like it might be important. So maybe we could just call them and have Johnny come over, do an aerial, and that's a reason for calling them, so the players can join us here in this effort. Let's do that. What do you think, Candace?
Sounds good to me. Aerial recon might pick up some tracks.
All right, let's go back to the car for now,
Okay.
and I'll make a request for Johnny and Jake to come and join us at the Jehovah's Witness Kingdom Hall off Highway 4. We need aerial surveillance, and we're going to need assistance in
All right.
checking out this suspicious location.
So they're, keeping in mind how long you guys have been driving, they're probably, you guys, Jake and Johnny, you guys are probably about a half hour from the Marshall station when you get this radio call from Justin. If you're flying, I'll do the math on this real quick. If you're flying, you're probably in a position to be there and give or take about an hour. Because obviously in the air you can go pretty quick and you can go in a straight line, right? So as opposed to twisting and turning down city streets.
Yeah. So I'll just respond to Justin and say, I hear you, Marshal Averam, and we'll be there. Let him know what our ETA is.
All right, perfect. So anybody have anything to add, or am I just flash forwarding for an hour?
Nothing here.
Okay.
Just driving.
All right, perfect. All right. So you reach the area. Do you land in front of the Kingdom Hall? Is that the plan, or are you going to?
I'll wave them.
Okay.
Yeah, probably radio to Justin so I know where to look out for him and zoom in on that.
All right. Very good. So you set the gyro car down, and so you're all together.
Yay, togetherness.
One big happy family.
That's right.
All right, welcome. Looks like we got suspicious-looking old church right up the hill there to the north. It's hard to see from here. And there is a hard-to-find but evident path of travel, so some people were headed that way. But it's covered in a kudzu-like undergrowth. It's difficult to travel. So, Johnny, maybe you could take this thing and give us an aerial overview first before we go trudging through the wilderness.
All right, maybe there's a place I can set down that we can just fly over the wilderness.
That would be good.
All right.
All right. Take off and take a look around.
Okay. Is anybody going with Johnny in the car, or I guess Jake, you're probably still in the car.
Yeah, I'll just remain in the car and help with observation.
All right. Perfect. Yeah, go ahead and I'm not going to make you make a piloting roll for just a basic takeoff and fly over. That's very simple. And if you guys are taking a good look around, doing aerial reconnaissance, go ahead and make observation rolls.
I'll just help Jake's roll.
That's fine. So
Okay.
Jake, add 1 bonus.
Got it.
One success. So yeah, it is exactly the way Marshall Averum described it. It is, and as you fly over it, you can tell it is definitely an old church, an old building. Certainly looks like a church, and it's there's the building itself is overgrown. There's a tree growing right next to the building, probably too close to it from the standpoint of tree roots and what they do to building foundations, and that partially obscures the building. There's vines and everything all over it and all around it. The muddy track that goes through the trees is really not visible from the air. At least not while you're over it. But when you get to an angle, you definitely can see where there's a muddy track that comes up through the trees from Highway 4 that is very well disguised, but it is large enough for a vehicle. And this is what's really interesting, is that there is a little bit of a clearing on the top of the hill where this building is, and while the building itself is overgrown and covered with vines and growth and whatnot, the clearing itself is almost seems maintained, and it is large enough to land a gyro car in.
Probably head back and fetch the others and just land next to this. No sense trying to traverse the muddy road.
Okay. So yeah, you can. I'll let you all pile into the 4-door gyro car, though it's meant to seat 4 and there's 5 of you, so it'll be a tight squeeze, but I'm sure you guys will figure it out. All right, so and then you lift off and go fly and land next to the church itself in the clearing, right?
Yep, set right down in the clearing.
Yep. All right, perfect. So from this point, you guys have a good view, actually. You're at the top of a larger hill, so you can see a good distance in all directions. It's the cloud cover's finally moving off, allowing some sunlight to come through. Of course, it's low to the horizon, so you still get that overall morning gloom thing going on. And all's fairly quiet here.
Let's examine the ground that disguised pathway that you mentioned. It's large enough for a vehicle.
Okay.
See if there's any tractor tracks there.
All right. Do an observation roll for me. Okay. All right. Yes. The ground on the top of the hill itself, while it is it's pretty solid, but as you make your way towards that track, the ground gets softer and softer, and it's definitely wide enough to allow a vehicle, and it's just got, as you look down this track, there's these deep and wide muddy ruts that are in the mud from a vehicle having come through here recently. And you imagine that this track probably stays fairly muddy because it doesn't get any direct sunlight, if that makes sense. But there's definitely a vehicle.
This could be a tractor tire that did that?
It's definitely large enough to be a tractor tire.
All right, I'll notify the others and tell everybody to be on their guard.
Okay.
This might be our spot. So nobody goes off by themselves. Johnny, you got your service pistol with you?
Pat my hip.
Okay, Candace, you're packing?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's do a 360.
Jake holds a pen up.
I got a camera.
The pen is mightier than the sword, dude. Let's split up Jake and Johnny on the one hand and 3 of us remaining on the other, and let's meet on the other side of the building. Let's do a 360 and see if we pick up anything.
Okay.
I'm going to draw my gun since the other person I'm with is unarmed, just to have it out so I don't have to waste time if something happens.
Fair enough. Very good.
And if I catch him doing that, I will also. Because that's a good idea.
Yeah, it's fine. It's the hilltop is it's pretty quiet out here. There's some calls of some birds in the trees a little bit in the distance, but there's not much there's not much here. As you guys split and traverse around the building, you come to the back side of it. There is a single on this back side of the building there, and the building doesn't have any. Well, let me rephrase that. It has windows, but they've been covered with sheet metal. And from the condition of the sheet metal, it's probably been there for quite a while. It's probably been there for years because it's just got surface rust on it and that type of thing. And as you come around to the back side of this building, there's a single cement step and a pair of double doors. They're the only doors you found on the building.
All right, let's approach the doors. Look for anything out of the ordinary.
All right. You can make an observation roll if you like. All right. Let me move this. I need to move my PDF over to the side real quickly. There we go. Very good. Everything seems quiet.
Have these doors been used recently?
Hard to tell. Not really sure. It's just a conventional set of doors with a with doorknobs. Honestly.
Well, let's try one of them.
It is locked.
Let's try real hard.
So exactly what are you trying to? What exactly?
I'm trying to force the door.
Just trying to force the door.
This is probably highly illegal, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Well, that's fine.
It's an abandoned building. It's perfectly legal.
There you go. I like it.
If Candace says it's legal,
Candace says it's legal. We're good to go. I guess we're going to call that a close combat roll. And it's just a basic lock. It's nothing really special, so give yourself, I was going to give you a 1 mod.
I'm sorry. What do you want me to do? Should I didn't realize.
Well, that's okay.
We'll
just leave it as it is. Do you want to push the roll?
Well, I mean, maybe, is anybody in the group, known for their strength and their size or something like that? I've got a strength of 3. I guess that's okay.
Melissa kind of looks at you and says, "Here, my dad was a mechanic. Let me try something."
She works out.
And I'll give her a bonus 1 help from you. Okay, so she grabs a firm hold of the doorknob and kind of gives it a twist and a hard push with her shoulder, and she just pops it right out of the frame.
Show off. Love it though.
So the door just kind of creaks open, and there's a dark room.
All right, I'll go in with the flashlight.
All right. Go ahead and make a power roll on your flashlight, if you would, please.
Okay, forgive me.
On your character sheet.
Just where it says power down.
Where it says power. Yep, you got it.
Okay.
Oh, a face hugger. So drop your power by 1, please.
Okay. Sorry, I don't.
You should just be able to click the number and edit it.
Okay.
That work?
Yep, that works.
Perfect.
Just fine.
So you're in what you would only describe as a vestibule. It's it's probably 3 or 4 meters wide and a few meters deep. There's a single basic wooden desk here. and behind it is another set of double doors, and there's a curtain. There's kind of a doorway with a curtain blocking it to the left.
Is this area, this immediate area, is it as decrepit as it should be?
That's a valid question. That is a valid question. So you guys can make observation rolls if you like. A lot of observing going on around here.
I'm in there as well, right, Jake?
Yeah, you're all kind of right there, right?
Everybody's heading in.
All right.
All
Nope,
right.
I got a panic.
You got to panic. Roll your panic, please.
Panic is
A 5. So, the last time you went into a dark area, Jake, someone tried to take your head off with a big wrench or something. So, even though you're in well-armed company, this is probably a little uncomfortable to you. But as you guys kind of peer around, Candace, Jake, and Johnny. Well, the marshal didn't succeed, but that's okay. There is how should I put it? This room is I mean, there's definitely a little bit of dust here. Okay, but it's not. From the outside, this building looks like it's an abandoned building, hasn't been used in years, maybe decades, who knows, a long time at least. But on the inside, it just doesn't look that way. What little dust might be here on the top of the desk or maybe in the corner of the room is dust of days, certainly not dust of years.
And can we see anything past the initial vestibule?
No, the double doors are closed, and then there's the curtained off area to the left.
We don't hear anything if we just stop and listen carefully.
No, it's dead silent.
Okay. I'm going to kick on my flashlight as well, just to have more coverage around the area, just instead of the one.
Very good.
So rolling power.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. All right. So what's the plan, folks?
Well, I'm not a cop, but I kind of want to see what's behind that door.
Let's just peek behind the curtain real quick. Make sure there's not people there.
All right.
Jump out. Get us.
So you peek behind the curtain, flashing your flashlight around. It's a cloakroom. Clearly, it's only a couple meters wide, few meters long, and there's hangers everywhere, hung on a rail that goes around the room. It's clearly for people to put their coats and hats, that type of thing. But other than that, it's empty. And this room is very old and dusty. Looks like it hasn't been used in a long time.
Here, let's move to the doors.
Okay. So who's at the doors?
Does everyone just have pistols? Or does anyone have a rifle?
I don't have either, so
I have a
I guess
pistol.
I'm not going first.
And Melissa is also unarmed unless you count the scalpel from her surgical kit.
And Candace just has a pistol?
Correct.
So it doesn't really matter.
Do you have
how we-
anything in
how
the
we
car?
back up. Just somebody's going to have to open it, and the other two should probably cover the angles.
Is there a long rifle in the car by chance?
I would say not, because no one thought to bring one.
Okay.
Candace is happy to open the door and have the other two go in.
All right. So is it safe to assume that you two basically... So Candace is going to open the door, so Johnny and Justin basically have their weapons aimed at the door, that type of thing, kind of the flashlight under the hand type thing, pointing at the door. That's the idea we got?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
All right, so Candace, how do you open the door, Candace? Do you open the door and jump back, or what do you do?
I just hug the wall next to the door,
Okay.
and I will push the door with my one hand, and the other hand will have the gun.
Then I'll make sure that
Aiming
Jenny and I aren't standing directly in front of the door. We're off to the sides a little bit, as
Yeah.
cops do.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Oh, shotgun blast blows your face off. You're dead. No,
I
it's,
believe that's why they do it.
that's exactly why they do it. All right, so the door opens inward perfectly quietly on a very well maintained set of hinges, and inside you're looking across the nave or sanctuary of a church, right? It's a good 10 plus meters long to the far side. Most the room looks like it was probably once equipped to hold quite a few pews, but most of these are gone. There's probably 4 or 5 wooden pews left that are closer to the far end of the church from where you guys are. But any others have been long removed, or they're just not there. On the far side of the room really is where your flashlight starts to not really be able to dispel as much gloom because it's just getting too diffused at that distance. There's definitely a raised dais with a podium behind it, or on it, I should say.
All right, I'll move it.
All right. As you start to move in, and certainly this place has been used more than what the exterior of the building would have you believe. As you move in and approach, the only sound is your footsteps on thinly carpeted floorboards, and there's really not much else to see except you almost jump for a moment when you think you see a figure back behind the podium, but then you realize, as you flash your light back across it, you realize it's not a figure. There's nobody there. But there's definitely where normally in this type of place there would be a large cross or a crucifix, something along those lines. That's not there, but there is some sort of painting on the wall.
Well, I swing my high beam flashlight towards the painting, kind of knowing what to expect.
Yep, it's something you've all seen before. You know what it is.
Jesus, I think we found it. We found a connection.
All right, let's search this nave and the surrounds very well. Let's make sure there isn't any other egresses from this room. They might be concealed, so look carefully.
Yeah, and I'm taking pictures furiously.
Okay. All right. So I guess this looks like a time for observation rolls.
And I will help the Emmy look for any blood or signs of forensic evidence, etc.
Very good. Very good. Let me roll her as well. Where is she? There she is. Come on.
Oh, nice.
All right. All
We're
right.
really rolling well this time.
Yeah, you guys are.
It's kind of refreshing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the panic rolls have been few and far between and low when they do happen, and the successes are coming in massive quantity.
Yeah.
Melissa starts to head further in towards the painting, and she points at an area of the floor. She goes, "Give me some light over here." So who's going to do that for her?
If I'm close, I'll do it.
Okay, very good. That'll be fine. And meanwhile, in terms of just general searching around, it looks like that this this room pretty much takes up the whole rest of the building. Just for in your mind's eye, the exterior dimensions of the building versus this room. There's no other parts to this old church. There's no other doors leading from this room. There are a number of windows lining the sides, which might have been decorative glass or stained glass windows at one point that are all pretty much just busted out and gone at this point. Of course, on the outside they were covered with sheet metal, so they're just dark vacancies. There's not even like cracks of light coming in there. So the only light is from your flashlights. Where Melissa pointed at the floor and said, "I need some light over here," there's definitely large blood stains on the floor, just underneath the painting of the mural that you've all so unfortunately become familiar with. She's looking at them rather intently. She reaches out and touches one of them, and then just kind of does this with her finger. And then she stands up. She said, "This blood has been here a long time. I can take samples. I don't know what I'll even really be able to get out of it, but we can. I can take a look when we get back."
How does the floor look around? Does it look like there's been dust settled on the floor and we're messing it up, or
no? The place is relatively clean. Your guess would be that someone cleans up in here relatively often.
But the blood is crusted over, which means they left it alone.
Yeah, it's been there for a while.
So they don't have any problem with blood being on the floor. Okay. I'm going to move up and down the pews, go behind the dais, and just do general poking around, curious investigating.
Sure.
Is there an altar?
There is an altar and a podium. Going with your observation rolls, because Justin had 4 successes. The altar has a number of like candles and candelabra holding candles that have been somewhat burnt down. Obviously, the place has no power that you can see. There doesn't seem to be any connection to power whatsoever. So someone's either using the candles for light, or they're bringing in portable lights if they're using this space. The podium itself there's nothing there. Like if you check the backside of the podium, obviously there's like a couple shelves in there, that type of thing, but it's empty. There's nothing there.
No trapdoors?
No.
How about the floor? Any like trapdoors? Anything on the floor that looks weird? Maybe pews that look like they may have been moved from one side to another?
Not specifically, no. No, there's definitely no trapdoors, or Justin, with your investigator skill, you'd be able to know if there was something hidden here, and it doesn't seem to be.
Ceiling?
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say attic access, nothing like that.
No, the ceiling, when you look up, there is no actual drop ceiling. When you look up, you're actually looking at the interior of the roof of the building. It's got cross members across it, that type of thing.
But there is a steeple, right?
There is a steeple.
And there's no access? It's just like a belfry? It's empty up there?
Yeah, you don't see any way to get up to it.
Okay.
Now, taking a closer look at the mural, is it of the same construction and design as the other ones? The other ones were of varying degrees of, I think, if I remember right, skill and kind of medium they were using.
Correct. This one looks about identical to the mural at the murder scene.
So it's newer and more refined, is what we could say about it.
Absolutely. Compared to some of the older ones you found, it's a much more that's a good a good way of putting it. It's a much more refined image.
Okay, so we can probably extrapolate that this place has been used or at least the mural has been painted more recently than the stuff inside the abandoned initial housing complex. Boy, what about the surrounding grounds? Did we ever get a good look at that, or no?
Yeah,
We
I
did
mean,
from
New
where?
observation outside.
yeah, you guys did the aerial recon, and then you kind of walked around the building, there really wasn't much to see outside. You like I said, you could definitely see how from a distance you might not even recognize that that is a building. Even from a great distance, it could even just look like an outcropping of rock or overgrowth. So, but there wasn't much else to find.
And in relation to where the retired marshal's homestead is, this is on the opposite side of the population center, so it's like 1 hour
It
away
is.
from 1 hour his away, so it's 2 hours away from by
Yeah,
flight. I guess.
by air it's 2 hours. It's almost on the exact far opposite side of the colony.
Interesting. Officers?
Yeah, it's weird that we're in danger of having the trail go cold here. We need to link somebody to this place somehow, so that we can continue the investigation. If there's no further clues, we'll have to stage a stakeout or put surveillance here somehow. But the more we disturb it, the more they're going to know we've been here. So.
So I know a guy is one of my talents.
Yeah.
Is that really your character's talent?
I have a talent. I'm a journalist, right? So I know a guy.
Cool. Okay.
The player here doesn't know exactly which guy it is to talk to, but I'm going to throw it out there that I know a guy that maybe makes the more darker shades of the population's psyche, a study of his. Maybe I should go and talk to him. Looks at the underground, maybe into the goth kind of stuff. Maybe I can ask him if he knows anything about these images and if he's seen them before.
We could do that. I also, maybe we could make an inquiry with the people at the Kingdom Hall, which is like literally right next door.
Yeah, it was only a couple miles away.
Oh, it is a couple miles away. So yeah, they might see.
They might be connected in some way, or they might have seen people.
At least traffic coming out here potentially. So
let's figure out who is affiliated with that place, even if it's just a question of looking up records of who owns it.
Oh, that's a good idea. I like that. See,
or maybe somebody will show up. I don't know what time of day it is. It's probably getting close to afternoon now.
yeah, it's probably pretty close to midday it's midday Friday. The Heroic Irons told you that the Jehovah's Witnesses typically hold service on Wednesday and Sunday.
Isn't Wednesday somehow related to Rosalie's case?
Yes.
Was she found on a Wednesday?
Yeah, you found her. She was found Thursday morning. She was killed based on everything you guys could figure out. She was killed Wednesday night, and Wednesday night was also the nights that she attended church.
Okay, so for lack of another lead, maybe we can go back to the Kingdom Hall, and I'll have the deputy at the station contact whoever the emergency contact is for the Kingdom Hall building and have them meet us out here.
That's good. I like that.
Because we have some questions.
That I'm going to tell you. That's great. I love that. One thing I love about playing RPGs is that you never quite know something your players are going to come up with, and that's a great one. I enjoy that.
Yeah, one of my vampire players got into a vendetta over some woman that he fed from. He plays this womanizer of a character, and this woman's fiance came back after him, and he killed this guy in self-defense. So I put the cops on him, and he went and got a lawyer He's like, I want to go find. It was like the first thing when he woke up at night. He's like, is it early enough? Can I go find somebody at a law office? I was like, yeah, probably like a workaholic. And then he went and found a lawyer. He's like, listen, I have this problem. I didn't do this. You're going to manipulate his family or take over his family? He's like, no, I need an attorney, I think.
That's awesome.
That was probably a good excuse for you as a game master to deplete his entire bank account.
Yeah, that's
Well,
right.
he's got a pretty serious bank account, but it didn't get the cops off him.
No, I meant the lawyer.
Oh. If he goes,
That would probably deplete his bank account.
He has not seized that opportunity. He's currently depleting someone else's bank account, actually. That is something he does.
Do you guys remember an old Dungeons and Dragons module called Steading of the Hill Giant Chief?
Yes, that's the I forgot the series, but it's the Against the Giant series.
The Giant series, right? Yeah. It's the first one in the Giant series.
1, 2, 3, 4.
That's it.
Like
yeah.
That.
I was playing a rogue character, and we snuck our way in. Of course, there's the big party going on in the big hall, right? And we just kind of snuck inside, and there's the guard tower, and we're trying to figure out how the hell we're going to get across. We got to get across this hall, and how are we going to get? There's giants and ogres everywhere. We're never going to sneak past all these people. So I said, well, let me go up into the guard tower and take a look around. And so I go up there, and there's a hill giant there who's drunk and asleep, right? And there's pitch, and there's tar, and there's oil, and there's alcohol, and there's all sorts of stuff everywhere. And I said, okay. So I took some oil, and I fed a trail all the way down the steps. And when I got down to the steps, I grabbed a torch off the wall, and I looked at the guys, and I went, run! The DM was going, where's he going with this? And then when I got to the bottom and I grabbed the torch, he goes, oh, no.
Sounds like a good diversion, though.
Yeah, it was the whole point. Anyway, so just one of my bright moments. I had them on occasion. All right, so you are going to radio over to one of the deputies to reach out to figure out who owns, or who at least is on record for the Kingdom Hall, and get someone to meet you out there.
Yeah, the same people who put the contact person in case there's a fire or some emergency.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd say that's easy enough to do. And Jake, your idea, were you going to work on that now, or were you going to hold up on that for a minute?
I need to hold up for it because I obviously have to get back to civilization.
Oh,
so
that's a valid point. That is a valid point. Alrighty, so it probably, I would say it. You guys make your way back to the Kingdom Hall, and you're probably there hanging out for the better part of a half hour before someone comes driving up in an old busted car. It's not a gyro car like one of yours. It's just an old car, and a middle-aged man parks, and he kind of looks at all of you, and he opens his door and gets out and says, "Are you the marshals?"
That's right. I'm Marshal Averon. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. His name is Chris Bloomfield. That's a good one. I like it. He says, I'm on record. I got a call from one of your deputies, said that you folks needed some help out here. My name's Chris Bloomfield. I keep track of the place. What can I do for you?
Well, we have some questions regarding a murder that recently happened.
Oh, the tree fell. Mm-hmm.
He goes, oh my gosh, a murder.
Provide us with some information.
Yeah.
How are you affiliated with the Kingdom Hall here?
Well, I'm one of the members. I technically owned the land. When we built it, I gifted it to the Kingdom Hall so that we could actually build it. And they've just kept me on on the deed as a point of contact. But yeah, I'm one of the congregation members.
And who's the, do you call it pastor or head of your church?
Let's see. If pardon me if I remember correctly, I believe a Jehovah's Witness it's an elder. But yeah, his I don't know. I need another random name here.
That's okay. We'll just go with elder.
That's fine. This was a
I
path
just
I
looking
wasn't
for it.
expecting.
We just want to ask you some questions about that abandoned property that's right next door.
The one up on the hill?
That's right.
Okay. What can I do for you?
You ever see anybody up there?
Let's see what that says. You know, actually, yes. Once in a while, there's once in a while we see some light from up there. Never really thought much about it. Just figured it was teenagers or kids doing something they're not supposed to do.
You think you could identify any of those people or perhaps their vehicles? You ever notice a license plate?
Oh,
Anything unusual? Anything that sticks out about any of them?
No, I never looked that closely at it. You know, a few weeks ago, I don't remember exactly when, but I remember seeing the lights from up there a few weeks ago. It seemed like lights from a car or a tractor. They were pretty bright.
You ever seen a Wayland-Yutani tractor around here?
Not that I can think of. And there aren't many Wayland-Yutani tractors out there, I'd imagine.
You ever hear of a girl named Rosalie Dawson?
No, doesn't ring a bell. She's not a member of the Kingdom Hall. Am I here?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just thinking. I forgot the names of her coworkers and boyfriend. Does he
Jenny
know any of
Wright
those people?
was the co-worker.
Jenny Wright. Does he know her? Does he know her boyfriend? Or
Yeah,
father?
Bobby Matthews. No, the names aren't familiar to him.
I mean, he hasn't seen any suspicious activity around here except for the occasional lights.
Yeah, not really. We we hold services. We hold services Wednesday night, and and of course all day Sunday. And of course all day Sunday. So we, I've seen lights up there. Like I said, I think it was headlights from a vehicle, a car or tractor, maybe. I can't say for sure, but
And that was on a Wednesday or a Sunday?
no, it's always I think I've seen him 2 or 3 times, and I think it might have always been on a Wednesday. I don't think I've seen them on a Sunday. Of course, I may not, because on Sunday we hold our services during the day. So
Anybody else got anything for him?
I think you've covered most of it.
Yeah, other than the lights, you didn't hear any machinery or any other noises besides just seeing quiet lights up there. Did they look like flashlights? Did they look like spotlights, vehicle lights?
no, they were definitely. I definitely say they were vehicle lights. I don't know what kind of too far away, and I've never really taken enough interest to go look into it, honestly.
You ever seen the old Marshal around here?
Marshall Daggett?
Yeah.
Not for quite a while.
What do you mean quite a while? Was he here at some point? Was he a member of your congregation?
Oh, no, nothing like that. Just, I mean, it's, he was the colony marshal, so, you might see him out and about once in a while. I'm sure he came out this way a few times over the years, but nothing specific that I can remember.
And do you know what church the marshal attends?
I don't know that the marshal's a religious man, unfortunately.
So you've certainly been a big help.
Well, least I could do. I hope you find what you're looking for. It's
Go on my walk.
very, a murder. It's that's just terrible.
Thank you for your kind words. We appreciate it.
This is like pretty far on the outskirts, right? Like this is also past the suburbs.
Yeah. You're way out in the eastern end of the colony.
All right. Ask them if they've have you ever had any issues around here with animal attacks? Any wildlife encroaching on anybody's property? Maybe drifters disappearing?
We've got our stories out here. You've got to, you do have to be careful because we're only another 50 miles to the east is, well, and you guys would know this. The habitable zone probably ends about 50 miles to the east of where you're at. And he says as you keep going east, you start to get into the swamps, and there's those gators out there, and you might run across a bear now and again. Of course, the bears are more scared of us than we are of them. I think they just like to get into the trash, So don't keep your trash outside in these parts. But things have happened over the years, to be sure. You hear stories.
Hey guys, I'm sorry I have to excuse myself for a minute. I need to use the restroom. I'll be right back.
No problem.
While Sharif is stepping away here, maybe Marty, if you can clarify, when we walked into that last church, we were in the entrance vestibule first, right, where
Correct.
There was like a desk and a cloak closet. I seem to remember you said, if I'm right, I think you said that everything was dusty and looked like it hadn't been picked up for a long time in that entrance vestibule, right?
No, the entrance vestibule was relatively clean. Like if there was dust, it was just the dust of a couple days worth. It was the cloakroom that was really
Okay, so that doesn't. Yeah, for some reason I thought it was unused, which then would have. Well, if the main church is well used and the vestibule is unused, then how do they get in and out? If that's
right.
not it.
I got you.
Yeah.
Thoughts, questions, ideas? Anybody?
I guess we're pretty much done here.
Alrighty. So I guess we'll assume you guys all pile into your cars and head back.
Probably back to the Marshall station. Yeah.
Yeah, because you guys have 2 cars out here, so
Seems like what we really need is to find another churchgoer, or get or catch their congregation somehow.
Well, they met. They've seen lights. The is it custodian or one of the pastors of the Jehovah's Witness elders saw lights up on the hill, but only on Wednesday, and that's the time they didn't say Sunday. Today's Thursday. If we wanted to stake it out.
No, today's Friday.
Oh, today's Friday. Right, today's Friday. So yeah,
we're still 5 days away from another potential meeting.
Correct. Right, which means I don't know if the police force has resources to stake something out that much or not, but this is definitely, there's a link there with something with that mural. Yeah. So that church is, it probably should be taped off. But,
well, 289 is pretty boring. Marshall's don't have anything better than this to worry about.
No, true. You have 6 deputies. There are 6 deputies.
Well, I'm not a marshal, but it would make sense to me to maybe drop 1 or 2 for a stakeout. If not a stakeout, take your vehicle and patrol here 2-3 times a day just to see what's happening. That would be me.
I would suggest stakeout We really need to know what is going on here, and ideally, nobody should see them.
Yeah,
We don't want to put people either.
Right.
patrol might lead to a change up in their behavior.
Now, I guess while Sharif is still away, the murder scene. There wasn't any connection with this kind of mural at the murder scene, though, right?
What do you mean exactly?
Well, we've got an anecdotal connection of having a crucified human appearing, and then us finding a mural of a crucified creature.
Right.
So, I mean, that's anecdotal, but there wasn't anything that looked creature-like at the. If it was a murder, if it wasn't a self-sacrifice scene, right?
Right. Correct.
Okay, so we're going off of just the crucifixion as being the major link between the creatures and the death of the victim.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
All right. So if you guys head your way back, I'd say, obviously, you've got a pilot, so one of the cars can fly, which would have it get back to the Marshal station in about half the time of the other car. So I guess that's a question if you guys want to take advantage of that in some way, who's going in the car that flies, who doesn't. And then the other question would be, Sharif, while you were gone, they discussed getting, because you guys have 6 deputies, available to you. They suggested possibly working out a stakeout of the church, because their logic was that it's Friday about midday right now, and you think this church happens on Wednesday, so you're about 5 days away from another meeting. So I'll let you guys all figure out what exactly you want to do with all that.
Yeah, I think that might be our only logical course of action. Stake it out or surveil it somehow. I don't know what kind of.
Who would you want to send on that stakeout of your 6 deputies?
Well, yeah, I guess that depends how hard or easy it would be to do some kind of electronic surveillance. Set up remote cameras. Is that something that's available?
I would say that's something that could be done. It would require a little bit of time. You certainly don't have what you need with you to do that. So you would probably have to run back to the Marshal station, pick up some equipment. Right. Someone would need to make you'd probably need a Comtech role on site to set up the equipment with another Comtech role back at the Marshal station to make sure everything's working properly. But I'd say that can be done easily enough.
All right, because then maybe one thing we could do is, set up some cameras to cover 360 around the place, and we can monitor remotely from the station, so we don't have to put people in shifts in the bushes. You know what I mean? Okay.
Yeah, I mean that would work if you want to do it that way. Absolutely. Like I said, just take a little legwork.
I mean, when it comes down to Wednesday, that's a different story. Then we're going to want to be prepared, right? But in case they show up, we have Johnny standing by with the air car. So who would be our guy for that? Who's got the highest Comtech? Certainly not me. I've got 0.
I've got a total of 8 on Candace.
Candace has an 8 Comtech?
Total.
All right, so you're our man, so to speak.
Melissa has a 4.
All right, so let's have. Well, I guess Jake's got his guy that he needs to talk to.
I do, but I got my guy. Yeah, I got to talk to. But I was going to say too, I got a 7 for Comtech whenever. Not that I want to be part of setting up the surveillance. So.
Well, because maybe Candace, Johnny, and myself can, get the surveillance set up. Candace can do the work. Johnny can do the driving, and I'll just overwatch with security, I guess, so they don't get jumped.
Johnny's got a decent Comtech as well, I think, doesn't he?
Nah,
Oh, no?
I have decent wits, but contact 0.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're right. You're right.
But my straight wits is 3, so I'm not like lost in the woods, but not trained either.
That's right. That's right. I did make Candace and Jake the 2 Comtech characters. All right. So, so the idea. Okay. So Candace, Justin, and Johnny are going to fly back to get the equipment, then come back, set the equipment up, then go back. Is that correct? That's the plan there.
Yeah, and if it's too late to start today, we'll just.
Oh no. I mean,
tomorrow.
it's after talking to the guy from the Kingdom Hall, it can't be but a little bit after midday. So you probably have 4 or 5 hours of daylight left. You've got plenty of time to do that.
All right, and
Go ahead.
I was just thinking out loud. No, it's all right.
Oh, all right. I need to write one thing down. There I go with my good old-fashioned paper and pencil there. All right, so I'm just going to montage you guys for a minute, if that's what you're doing. So there.
Good music ready for that.
Yeah, that's right. Need some good 80s music for that, I guess, maybe. Back and then back again. So you guys will finish up, the 3 of you will finish up all that about 4 in the afternoon. Okay. So just to move it along quickly, you guys fly back, you find the equipment that you need. Then you come right back out, and you're setting up cameras for like a 360 view wirelessly of the old church, correct?
Yeah, I mean, we basically need one camera on the double doors, so we know if anybody's actually going in. But what we really need is advance warning that people are on site. So we need cameras that have a remote view of the whole site, so that we can tell, like maybe cover the area near Highway 4 where the tracks diverge from the highway. So we know if a vehicle is turning off the road there, that it's time for us to get our asses in gear.
That sounds good. That will work. So, Candace, if you would please make a Comtech roll for setting up all the wireless cameras.
Should I help with that?
She had a success, so we're good. And then, and certainly you could have helped with that, so we can do that on the next roll, because you're going to need a second roll back once you set everything up and you guys fly back. You'll need a second roll at the Marshal Station to make sure that all the links are good and everything works properly. And you can get a bonus die from Johnny. And a success. So, all right, very good. Very good. All right. And so I guess Jake and Melissa were taking the other car back, and neither of you are pilots, so you're driving the old-fashioned way.
It's low and slow, right?
Yep, that's it. That's okay. It's a beautiful day. Melissa has you drop her off at the St. Francis Medical Center, so that she can run some tests on the blood samples that she collected.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so what's your plan? It's about 2 in the afternoon.
So I don't have the car, right? It's not my car.
Well, it really belongs to the marshal's office, but all the marshals got in the other car and flew away. So,
if she doesn't have
Melissa can drive, right?
what's that?
Melissa's sort of part of the marshal's office.
Yeah, sure.
By extension.
Close enough. She's official.
She works for the county.
Right. I can't procure it for my own use, right? For going to when you see.
Yeah, probably not. I mean,
not a good idea.
Yeah.
So, right, I'm guessing my bike will be there, and so I don't know who this person is, but I'm assuming that the good old reporter will have a number of contacts, both very legitimate members of society and some not so legit. So it's the not so legit that I'm going to look for. And
so I'm going to ask you if you will help me out again. What What specifically you're trying to find out with your piece of info? Who you're looking for? What type of information you're looking for?
Well, I'm looking for if there's any sort of, without using the word cult or secret society, find out if there's maybe something that hasn't been picked up by myself or the police up to this point that might have a connection to what we see going on at that church and murals and all that stuff. I mean, somebody's doing this, and it looks to be more of an organized group than just some kids
Gotcha.
making trouble. So, I'm looking for somebody that, an obvious place would be maybe like the bartender, or police would be the most obvious to, find out about the underbelly, but they don't know what's going on. So,
Yeah.
I would say if there's any like drug dealers, if there's any thieves that I may have gotten info from before, or anything like that may have a pulse of the
Gotcha.
underground kind of.
Gotcha. All right. So make your manipulation roll, please.
All right.
So, guys, so you know, Jake Showalter is a career known as the journalist. It's a career that I homebrewed. And it's kind of a variation on the company agent type.
Just me.
Can you? Oh,
Sorry about that. So goes the great rolls.
yeah.
But okay, so I got 2 panics.
You there, Sharif? Yeah. Roll your panics.
I totally what you said.
Oh, I'll tell you in a minute.
Jake
Oh,
Showalter is a career known as. I didn't hear anything after that.
that's fine.
Yeah.
He's-
Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's okay. Go ahead and roll your panics. He's a career known as the okay.
Oh,
Shoot, I
interesting.
don't have my where the heck is my chart? I don't have my chart with me.
Could look it up.
Yeah, real quick if you don't mind for me. He's a career called the journalist. It's a career that I basically homebrewed. It's kind of a riff on the company agent a little bit, or the company representative. But one of the talents that I created for the career is literally called I Know a Guy, and it's once per session he can make a manipulation roll, and if he's successful, he's got a contact that might be able to enlighten him and give him a little bit of information. Now, as the GM, I have the right to be vague about it. This contact may not know a lot, but he may know just enough to send you the right direction. So, or get you started.
Right. So I did panic.
Yep.
It doesn't look like I had a success, so I guess I'm just generally scared. And I rolled an 8, which gives me trembling. I start to tremble uncontrollably. All skills using agility, so for a -2 mod.
Yep, very good. Thank you for looking that up. I'm
Sure.
having a hard time getting to my chart right now. In fact, I can't even find it. There it is. Let me get that handy. Okay, there we go. I'm back on. Yeah. So I guess what's bothering you about this, that's giving you that nervous tremble, or that not nervous tremble, but the trembling, is that there's clearly something that's been going on for quite some time here. All the evidence that you guys have collected is really pointing that this has been going on for years, maybe as long as a decade, and yet you can't seem to track down anybody through the network or any of your old contacts, like you said, shady people, maybe people that are in official positions at Colonial Admin that might have access to information that other people wouldn't. You can't find anybody that really seems to know anything about this, and that's really starting to bug you in a very primal and agility handicapping way.
Right. When you roll 2 stress like that, can you push it or no?
No. Anytime you roll a panic, you cannot push your roll.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Okay.
Yeah.
Damn.
Now, a panic, is that in the rules? Does that count as a success?
No, it's a fail. It's not necessarily a fail. It's however, hold on one second. Let me come back to that in a second. But to answer the rule question, if you rolled a success and also a panic, you would not be able to push that roll. However, the success means that your action still succeeded, unless your panic roll is is a 10 or higher. So you make your panic roll. If your panic roll is an 8, then your action still occurred. You just have a negative impact from whatever your panic is. However, if you rolled a 10 or above, it kills the action entirely and something else happens. That's when people start running and screaming and, doing all sorts of the bad things they do in horror movies when it gets to be too much. Now, all that being said, Jake, I owe you a push, and the reason I owe you a push is because you guys took your time to get back to the city. Frankly, you're in the gyro car. That would be considered a safe situation. So nobody should have any stress at this point.
Okay,
so
I had 2. That's
yeah,
fine,
so you can all remove your stress for one, and then second, that means Jake, you can push that roll. We ignore the panic roll, and you can push if you like.
Okay, so I add 1 stress and then re-roll.
Yep.
So I have a total of 1. Got it.
But everybody's allowed to remove 1 stress for having been riding around in the cars.
You can remove all your stress, really, because you guys were in the car for at least an hour, and that's 6 turns. So I don't think any of you have 6 stress.
It's manipulation, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
correct. I would certainly hope you don't have 6 stress.
Oh, come on. Yes.
Ah, there it is. Okay. Wow, Sharif's been reloading for quite some time there.
He was on just a second ago, and then
So no,
no, I can't hear you, Sharif.
which he may not be able to hear us either. All right. I'll give him a moment to come back, and we're coming up on his hard stop time anyway.
Yeah.
Which is fine. It's trying to reconnect.
Processing.
Yeah.
Processing. Yeah, they can hear us, but okay.
Enhance. All right. Well, if I wonder if it's worth trying to see if we can reconnect, if that'll make a difference. I'm going to try that real quick. Yeah, I still don't see him.
Sharif, have you tried to exit the game and go back in? Like, if you go to, it's underneath options at the very bottom, it's exit game, and then you can start getting back into it.
I just F5 mine.
Yeah.
No problem. We'll wait for you. I mean, hey, look. Roll20 was kind enough to operate this long for us without any major screw-ups, even though I lost video for a few minutes. That's no big deal.
Yeah, I mean, I tried using it 3 years ago, and I couldn't get this to work even half as good as it is right now.
Yeah. Hey, there he is. Oh, there he
you are.
was.
Here.
Oh, we hear you.
I see him now. You guys see him?
I do not see him, but I heard him.
Right, he's fully there for me.
Oh, all right.
Yep.
Well,
It's weird.
I see. Really?
Yep, there we go. All right.
All right.
Perfect.
I don't know what's going on, guys. Roll20 just decided to take a dump.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. I did a refresh. Now I see it.
Yep.
Nice.
Shit the
Hopefully
bed
Andy
on you.
when Andy gets hired by these guys, hopefully he fixes all of this.
I'm
All
not
right?
the voice and video guy. My job will be to scan other people's D&D books, most likely.
We'll still complain to you, though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and-
Yeah, oh yeah, no. I
Listen,
expect
you don't
get-
even have to be hired by them for us to complain to you.
No, not at all.
You know
We
what I
can-
mean?
I'll make up a Google form. I'll send to you guys. And you can just
Perfect.
I
keep
think
a
all that's
running
gonna
tab
get
of,
us somewhere.
of bitch fits.
I'm sure that will. I'm sure that will get answered with all alacrity too.
I plan to look at it once a year at best.
Yeah, it's a year best. Just have an autoresponder sent up when the form gets submitted. Thank you so much for your feedback. It is very important to us. We promise that we have passed your concern on to the related departments.
You can tell Marty works.
I'll do that until I get my rejection letter, and then I'll just change it to I actually wasn't hired by Roll20, but I'll leave the form there.
Yeah, that's right. There you go.
Just keep complaining and complaining.
So, all right. So your I know a guy talent. So as you started to look around and put some feelers out there and do some talking, the response came from an unexpected place. And it was actually, it's not anyone you spoke to directly, either met or talked to on the phone, but it was actually a network message. And you have a contact that actually works in the colony admin building. Okay. You don't know who he is, or she for that matter. You don't know who this individual is. You just simply get emails from them now and again. And all it says is this has been going on for some time, and colony manager Kurtz knows about it. And that's it. That's all it says.
Okay. Wow. So somebody got word that I was asking around for this specific thing, and that person, my deep throat, right?
Yep, that's right.
Deep throat, sent me this message. Yeah, I need to tell this to the marshal right away.
Yep. So obviously that took a little bit of time, digging through your contacts to find someone who can give you some information. That's not a thing that's going to happen quickly, right? Obviously, because you don't know exactly where you're looking until you find it. So I would make it very easy and say that you all can kind of come right back together in the neighborhood of late afternoon. It's probably you're probably an hour from sundown before you guys all finish up what you're doing with the remote cameras, and Jake finishes his poking around, and Melissa is still at her office. Jake dropped her off there, and she's still there working on the blood samples. She's going to be there for a little while. All right. So yeah, your video feeds are working fine. As fine as it can with old-fashioned CRT monitors in the 22nd century with black and white grainy images. But you've got a good video set up. And
very good.
And
well, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say Candace is putting the finishing touches on tweaking that. When I guess Jake, that's when you probably show back up.
I'll ask real quick. I'll ask Johnny if we could load the car with tactical gear, long rifles, body armor. I don't know if they have flashbangs, but whatever this police department uses for that kind of stuff, so that we can be ready when it's time to deploy.
And then Shreve's character, Avram, right? He's the head marshal, right?
Correct.
Okay, so I try to get him alone when I arrive at the sheriff's station or marshal's station, and I as soon as I get him alone, I tell him, hey, my informant, I have one inside the administration. It's been reliable in the past, and I got a message that Kurtz is somehow either involved with this or knows about it, and that's the only.
Kurtz, the colony manager, Kurtz?
Correct. I couldn't get any more information out of that, and frankly, this is a confidential informant, and although they've been reliable in the past, there's no way for me to double check this. But if he is compromised, we don't know who else is.
With that in mind, I also think whatever car we load up with all the weapons, we should try to find a way to keep it in as secure a location as possible after what happened with Lennon's car. And we can keep checking it over, but a car we're all ready to jump into and fly off in is easy target.
That's very true. So let's make that Johnny's personal responsibility. Nobody can check that car out or have anything to do with that car unless they go through Johnny. So make sure the other deputies know.
Yep.
Meanwhile, we need a plan for how to surveil Kurtz, because it sounds like if he's not complicit, he's definitely guilty of negligence. That's like in the best case, because if he's known about this for years and not done anything about it, he might as well be complicit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we could assign him well, that doesn't help. I was going to say we could assign him a transportation detail using the explosion as a cover. Just say we're concerned about security, but
yeah, but then he won't
that'll
probably
just
like resort to his illicit, activities. He'll cool his jets, but we want to catch him in the act. Or I mean, if he wasn't the colony manager, I'd say we just go in there and do like the old film noir thing, break some heads a little bit,
right.
wall-to-wall counseling session. But he's the colony manager, so probably won't go over so well.
Yeah, and he's
if we have a reason to arrest him, that might be good.
He's specifically and this is information you would all know because this colony is a joint UA Wayland-Yutani effort. He is specifically a Wayland-Yutani employee, not a UA employee. Justin, Candace, Andy, the three of you would be UA employees. Because you work for the
he's a
marshal's
corporate
office.
guy. He's not public sector at all. He's
correct.
Straight corporate. Okay.
Correct. And Melissa, that's an interesting question. I don't know that I really have fleshed that out in my thought process. Melissa is probably technically, the ME is probably technically a Wayland-Yutani employee, but it doesn't really matter. Because she's also a public individual as well. So I'll have to think that over, but I don't know that really matters much. It just kind of occurred to me. Yeah.
No, I could, I'm not going to publish anything that we found today, obviously, but I can go talk to them outside of the framework of, the marshal's office or anybody that's in charge. Just be the pain in the ass reporter and see what I can find out.
Well, first of all, it's a hell of a thing that you found that out at all. So that's really good. That might be one of our biggest leads so far. It's obviously this establishes that the events we've uncovered go all the way to the top, so to speak. So it's bigger than we thought, no matter what. It's not just one psycho working in the bushes. It's a whole network of psychos.
Well, and I'll be honest with you. I'm going to find out and publish as much as I can about this, but we're in the middle of nowhere, and if there are a bunch of psychos doing whatever psychos do, I don't want to be putting a spotlight on me.
Yeah, you're going to have to get a new address after this, for sure. Off-planet address. Guys, I did mention earlier, and I just want to bring it up because I have to stop in 7 minutes.
Yep.
I know that you guys are probably like super anxious to continue, so if you wanted to, I won't be upset. Obviously, it's me who has to go, not you guys.
No, we're not going to do that to you.
Yeah.
I mean, I do want to see how this ends, but
something's happening here, so.
Yeah, I feel like we're getting there now.
At the same time, we're kind of at a hinging point. We've turned to surveillance. We have a new target for interrogation or observation. I mean, we're kind of hitting a breaking point. As far as the story not having acts, we're closing a chapter to a certain extent, opening a new one.
Yeah, I would agree with that statement. And
feels like we're closing in.
I think I have to wait a minute. Hold on 1 second. I need to step off screen a second. I gotta make sure I take my headphones off, otherwise that's gonna be bad. I'll be right back.
It's neat that one of the characters, like talents or what have you, whatever it's called, leads to such a breakthrough, right? Like that's kind of cool.
Right.
Yeah. It's a neat little tool for the DM too.
It's cooler than just something where it's like, okay, I was able to build some distance and survive an additional round in combat, or so. There's nice to have the linchpin of the narrative. Yeah,
it comes directly from a character's special ability. So
Yeah,
that's
I agree.
pretty cool.
What's that? I'm sorry, I missed all
We
that.
were just talking about how that the whole "I know a guy" thing was cool because it allows for more creativeness. That's all.
Yeah,
Like instead of you just
generator
feeding us a
break-
random, like you could have fed us a random hook for that bit of information, but instead it comes to the game through a character's special ability, so it feels like like grounded, like
Yeah,
almost like
It really it validates Justin's initial decision to bring him onto the team from outside in the first place. Basically, say like, this is a guy who can help us out, but I need you to keep this discreet in the papers for now.
Down low.
pretty cool how it works out. Sometimes you look back and it looks like it was created for that, but
Yeah. Well, it also speaks to the journalist being a well-structured character class that serves a purpose within the narrative process.
yeah,
in some ways it's a very powerful ability if you think about it, like from the point of view of telling a story. I mean, I guess if you were doing a mission where you have to raid, a pirate base or some shit, it's probably not going to be very helpful.
right.
No, but
Something
like
like this, it's pretty helpful.
we run when I do vampire, we have a lot of urban intrigue that goes along with that, and most characters wouldn't think to leave home without somebody in their back pocket they can call for something shady. So it's cool to see something like that pop up in another game where it's not necessarily what you'd expect to be the narrative driver, but your contacts are what's kind of saving your ass in the situation.
Right. Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I developed the journalist class or career just on a lark months and months and months ago. It's just something I thought about, and I was like, look, in our hyper-connected society, there's no way, even in the dark, grimy future of the Alienverse 22nd century, there's no way journalists don't exist. So I was like, what would that look like? Well, there's journalists that work for the government that feed the government lines to the public. Then there's journalists that probably work for companies and spin what companies are doing, that type of thing. But then you've got to have the guy that's also kind of the he's not a mainstream journalist. He's more of a scrappy investigative reporter, So I was kind of trying to put all that together. So two of the available talents that the character gets, they get Take Control, which is the company agent talent where you can substitute wits for empathy, I believe it is. And then it's got the investigator talent, which is the martial talent, what Justin Avram has, which kind of makes sense if you're that type of character. But then I was like, but I don't just want the third talent to be something from another character career. I want it to be something unique. And I was like, well, what does a journalist do? And I thought about one of my own detective stories I wrote that's in one of my books. And this detective went to a journalist because he knew this guy had contacts, that this guy knows a lot of things, a lot of people. And I was like, well, wait a minute, that makes sense because he knows a guy. And that's what it's called, I Know a Guy. I love it.
Yeah,
so
cool.
Guys, I'm good for Wednesday next week, if you guys are.
I am. I need to bring a family member to the doctor at 2:30, and it's closer to the city, so I may have to punch out like Sharif today at around 12:15. I think that would probably give me enough time to get there.
That's fine, absolutely.
That's okay.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I'm fine for next week too.
Yeah, real life comes first. It is what it is,
Yeah.
I'm good for next week.
Okay.
I think
Yep.
I'm good too.
All right, awesome.
Assuming
Guys-
I'm mauled by the mutt.
Yeah, well,
So
I-
cute. Now your dog
Go
looks like a pup, but I thought I saw some silver on the muzzle.
Neither nor. Actually, she is
No.
just over 2, but she is a permanent puppy.
Yeah.
But she does have a little bit of white down there on her.
That's what
on
I
her
thought I
chin.
saw. Yeah,
Yep.
maybe right here too, a little bit. No,
Yep, she's a little bit over and below.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She's a pretty dog.
yeah, she's a good
she's
girl.
sweet. She loves you, obviously. Look at that.
Yeah, I've had her for 7 or 8 months. She was a rescue last summer.
Oh, wow.
Oh, nice.
Very nice. So, guys, I really appreciate you
All right,
all
fellas.
showing up. I had a lot of fun. I really like watching the ingenuity and
Watching
the
us
thought
struggle
process.
and flounder.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
No, it's fun. I like the way the investigation's gone, and I like kind of like the roadblocks that we've hit, which reminds you of
Yeah.
something that you'd see in a police procedural or hear about in a real investigation. It's like, okay, we chased down this lead, but dead end, and then got to
Yeah.
try to kind of bring all the different threads together from different angles when you have the opportunity to pull them. I like
Yeah, you don't have to confirm this, but it's starting to get a very much True Detective feel to it from the very first one. I don't know if you guys saw that or not.
Yeah, that was a great.
that
great
one
season
seasons
of that
1
show.
and 3 I felt like were really good. I didn't like the second season very much, but the first
Yeah.
season of True Detective was really good.
Yeah, I never made it to season 3 because I couldn't get halfway through season 2.
Yeah,
but
I didn't
Season
like
2 sucks. Season 3 is a total rebound.
is it?
Really,
Yeah.
I'll have to check it out because I'm like
I
Marty.
wouldn't say it's necessarily as great as 1 because you didn't see 1 coming, but it's
You did not
it's
see
an
one
anthology.
coming.
Colin Farrell's gone. The whole Vince Vaughn story is gone. It's better acting, better direction, darker story. I really liked it.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
that's
what
cool.
made 1
Good to
so
know.
great.
Yeah.
Good to know. Yeah, because I missed that. Season 1 was fantastic.
No,
two-
season 3 brought back the vibes, I felt.
Awesome. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, fellas.
All right, guys. See you around.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Marty.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody, for the game.
Great job, Marty. Great job, guys. Thank
All
you.
right, guys.
Yep,
Thanks.
thanks all.